Jeez!
Hello, and welcome to the second Salacast, as we've decided to call it, because it's probably a bit better than Pom de Terre Menton. I am Dan, your host, and we have here in our virtual studio Rob.
Hello.
And Zach Purchase.
He's still going with the one-word intro. He doesn't need to say anything more. Just, hello.
I was kind of hoping we could go for like a barbershop thing there, you know. Hello.
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 There needs to be four of us. Really.
Yeah, probably.
Why is it
really
four?
bad
wait,
timing.
because it's a quartet, obviously. Duh.
But we could change that. We could make it a tritet.
I'm sure that's not the right word.
What would the word be? Duet and then quartet. So what's the three-piece? Rob, have you got any genius ideas?
No, I'm trying to think of another word for free other than try and failing.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work. What does it keep going? Pentet.
Thirdet.
A sextet.
A sextet. That's genuinely it, though, isn't it? For like six people. Six?
Yeah.
No,
Probably
no.
exactly right.
Sex is sex six?
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe you can't have odd numbers.
Why is it a hexagon though, and not a sexagon?
Because that sounds retarded.
Yeah, maybe they thought, no, we can't have a sexagon. That would be ridiculous. Let's call it a hexagon. I don't know. And
Should
what?
we try and turn this back around to some kind of topic, since we just went straight into random shit.
Well,
instantly.
you know, this is the Salacast. That is pretty much what happens. Right. Okay. Well, if you want to go straight into it, let's talk about games, shall we?
Yes. Clearly.
So this week, I'm going to ask Zach first. Zach, what have you been playing?
I have been playing mostly two games that I haven't played for quite a while, and then have suddenly come back to naturally, as I occasionally do, where it's like the cycle of playing stupid games. I've been playing Torchlight first.
Okay.
A goddamn ton of Torchlight again, because
Okay.
I don't know why. It's like I've already completed the stupid, its little miniature storyline thing. It's just like,
Yeah.
I want stupidly named loot. There's no reason for it. It's just got better stats, but I want more. I should grind and just like play these stupid same dungeons over and over for more stupid loot. So I can...
But is the loot like really imaginatively named and stuff? Is that? What is it? What is it that's cool about the loot?
Well, I mean, apart from obviously the stats, which is obviously what you want it for, but then it's like if you can get like sets of loot. So it's like if you have all the pieces of the set, you get extra bonuses. So obviously it's like the random. There seems like quite a large amount of random loot you can get. So the chance of actually getting all the parts to make up an entire set is so unlikely.
I see.
A ridiculous amount of grinding.
So do you get bonuses for having all of the same set?
Yeah, some sets are only like 3 pieces, but then there's ones that are like 7 pieces, so you have to get basically all the different parts. I don't know what the maximum number would be, like 9 probably, if it had like all the pieces of armor and a weapon to go with it.
Do you have like graphics for all of them? Like, do they look cool? Because that is a big part of loot, isn't it? In like World of Warcraft and stuff, is like
most
just
of
looking
them
cool.
Don't actually have totally unique models even for the sets. There are a couple of things which are just clearly different. Like my melee guy has a unique axe, but it's actually just a shovel. It's kind of nice. It's a shovel with awesome
that's
stats.
cool though.
It's very unique.
It's totally got way better stats than basically everything else I have. So like, okay, Mr. Melee Man, you now wield a giant shovel, which counts as an axe.
Is that like a bit like in BioShock, how you can like heavily upgrade your wrench to the point where it's better than your machine gun?
Yeah, I spend most of my time in BioShock with the wrench.
Yeah, apparently that's one valid tactic is to just they've worked out, like, I saw a PC Gamer article about BioShock and it was saying, well, these are the skills you want if you want to be ultimate wrench man, basically. And apparently it's one of the easiest ways to play the game. Because but if you upgrade it enough, you can take down a big daddy in like just a few hits or whatever.
Really?
Yeah, seriously. If you get the right
I
skills
suppose I didn't
stuff.
try that.
Yeah, no, you'd have to be dedicated to that from the beginning, I suppose.
Well, you don't really upgrade your wrench like weapon upgrades. You sort of get the plasmids and the skills for it. You can't like upgrade the wrench.
No,
Machines,
but the skills, you can swing it so fast by the time you upgrade the skills or something.
Yeah, if you want to, you can combine. You can only like carry one of, say, wrench mastery level 2 or whatever.
Right.
I forget what it's actually called, but you can only hold one of those. But you could combine it with level 1 and level 3. So
yeah,
so you
can
ridiculous wrenchman. Although it will screw up the rest of your slots.
Yeah, it would screw up the rest of your slots, so you just become dedicated to being the wrenchman. But in Torchlight, I mean, you're min-maxing all this loot and stuff, but like, now you've finished it, like, what are you using it on? I mean, what's the appeal, like, because like, you know,
I think I must just have some kind of crazy fucked up OCD or something, because it's just like, I want more of this stuff. I want to make my stats better for no reason other than I can just keep going deeper and deeper into the endless dungeon.
Oh, is there an endless dungeon?
Yeah, there's like, it's okay. Like, it starts at like high level, so it's like when you finish the normal dungeon, you're at the right level to go into level 1 of the endless dungeon, and then you just keep going into that. And obviously there's Steam achievements, which gives you another reason to keep on playing at it.
That reminds me of that really deep well in Paper Mario 2, The Thousand Year Door.
Yeah, the 100 levels of Doom.
Yeah.
Oh Christ, this goes on forever!
Yeah, and it just got harder and harder. That was
Wasn't
really
there one
cool.
of those in Zelda as well?
Yeah, there's one in Twilight Princess.
Fight full.
Oh, is there?
And the trouble with the Twilight Princess one was because you had to keep changing between normal and wolf. And it's like, there's a whole sequence, and then you had to go into scent mode, and then you had to fight the enemies. And it was like, oh, this is so annoying. It's not actually that awesome.
Right, were they trying to keep variety to the fact that you were just grinding, essentially, but it didn't quite work?
Yeah, something like that. And it was like, quite a lot of the floors were very similar, where it's like, here's some bats, and then on the next floor, here's some bats, and one other enemy.
Yeah, because they were fairly different in the Paper Mario one, weren't they? I mean,
well, sort of.
No, sort of. Yeah, not really. I mean, you did get kind of
a floor
of bats or something.
You get like the color palette swapped enemies.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this is the harder version.
That's always
kind of reminds me
of. I
of.
suppose they ran out of enemies to use in the Mario universe. It's like, what can we have? Well, we've got Goombas. Let's give them hats, and now let's make them red.
Yeah.
I guess, given it's Paper Mario as well, they only had to really have like a sprite or something. They didn't have a 3D model for each of them. They just pasted it onto a 3D piece of paper.
Yeah.
That could flip over and stuff. That was really cool. Yeah, but back to Torchlight. So, so it has an endless dungeon. Obviously, not actually. It just reminds me of those. But obviously, this is a like an RPG dungeon or Diablo style, isn't it? Torchlight.
Well, yeah, pretty much. When it's, I mean, it should theoretically be a totally endless dungeon. I'm not aware of it being actually, having an end. There's an achievement for like get to level 100 of it.
Is that what you're trying to do?
Well, not really necessarily trying, but that'll probably just happen.
So,
not really aiming for it.
You say you have this like OCD thing of like trying to get the best loot and stuff, but like that's what a lot of RPGs are aiming for to bring out in people, and not all of them. I mean, you don't get that feeling in that kind of game you play, do you? So there must be something special. That Torchlight must be doing something right.
I wouldn't necessarily say that, because it's like, if you look at Eve again, for example, I have like just a massive collection of loot from ships, where it's like it's like you get like the normal modules, and then you get named versions of those modules that are very slightly better. And it's like, so I've got a massive collection of all the named versions of every type of module, because it's like, one day I might be able to use these on a ship, even though I probably just use Tech 2 stuff, which is better anyway.
Yeah.
So I've just got a massive collection of random loot that's all named stuff, in case.
Is that like where you keep one of everything, like you do that in games, and I'm doing it in TF2 rather than crafting it, even if you never use it.
I mean, obviously in TF2 you do it because, you want those available in case you ever want to use them.
And you probably never ever will, but because you've decided already that you don't like that weapon, but you're keeping it anyway.
You've committed yourself to whatever weapons you're good at.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. I don't know.
But the other problem with Torchlight's ridiculous loot is you get, like, gems that you can put into armor slots or whatever to upgrade them. And sort of in a similar way of Team Fortress, where you need 91 individual weapons to turn into scrap metals. You can combine it all to get a singular hat. Torchlight has the same kind of thing, where you start off with shitty gems, and then if you have two of the same shitty gem, you can combine together to get a slightly better gem. Except it's a ridiculous amount of them. There's 12 levels of gem quality, so to make a perfect ultimate gem, you need to collect 256 shitty gems or something ridiculous like that. So it's like, Jesus Christ,
that's really weird because
combining these things into each other forever until I get an awesome one.
Because that makes perfect sense in game world, but in reality, it makes absolutely no sense because you can't combine gems to make better gems, can you? I mean, you just need to find the perfect diamond, don't you? You can't tech up with gems, can you?
I suppose you could cut them in fancier shapes.
Yeah, but they have to be perfect to start off with, don't they? Before the cutting, that's the key, isn't it?
True.
To it, so it's the size of them, isn't it?
They don't have any deformities in the structure, then you can cut them better.
Yeah, exactly. It's really weird when you look in the window of a jeweller's and stuff, and you see one which has about 50 little diamonds or something, and then you see one with one big diamond, and the one with the one big diamond is just so much more expensive, even though
by math it's the same amount.
Well, yeah, by mass it's the same amount, and it's also just as sparkly, really, isn't it? And it's but you'd think that it wouldn't really matter, but
so is cubic zirconium.
Everyone fucking loves cubic zirconium.
What's that? Is that the fake one?
The fake diamond, because it has a cubic structure, so it has the same.
Oh, right.
It has that stupid word that they use for gem sheen or whatever the fuck. It's got some luster or some crap.
Oh yeah, it is.
It's got one really retarded, stupid name for light shining through a gem, which I guess they needed a word for because they couldn't call it light shining through a gem.
Yeah, they needed some technical words. Yeah.
SFG. Wait, I wonder.
I just realised. What?
I just
what did that stand for? Shining through gem.
Shining
through gem.
That's genius.
I wonder if it has a basis in SI units, lumens per candela per square millimeter or something through.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know.
Horrible. Or maybe it doesn't. Horrible. Maybe it's one of those stupid unscientific scales.
Yeah, probably.
It's scale, I guess.
Less awesome to more awesome.
Scale of hardness, because that's so incredibly specific.
Oh yeah, where you have that hardness test where the thing ran the thing. That's very descriptive on the podcast, isn't it?
The thing ran.
It's like a point,
that
isn't
thing
it?
What glistens.
It's a four-sided pyramid point, isn't it? And you have a certain force in kilograms that rams down into the material, and then how far it dents in is a scale of hardness or something. Isn't it? Something like that.
And
we tried that on Ross Kemp.
There was.
Yeah, with Ross Kemp. Yeah.
just the pyramid.
Yeah, and the dome of his head. And you'd see how dented it gets from different.
But then the old way they used to do the stupid scale of mineral hardness was because it was completely non-defined. Where it was the only way you could determine how hard a mineral is by rubbing it against another mineral, and it's okay, this one's harder than this one, so it must go here in the scale.
Yeah, I guess you'd have to just sort of assume that diamond was the hardest,
which makes sense.
Yeah, because it is, but yeah,
chemically it is.
Yeah. So we've got quite far away from loot there.
Yeah. Well, diamonds are still loot, I guess.
Yeah, they're still loot. Yeah, you can have diamond encrusted things to make it even.
The bad thing is about that is that you know somewhere in the world someone will have got a wedding wing and gone
a wedding wing,
a wedding wing, and flown away in a glistening shower. No, it's they would have a wedding.
No,
wedding.
A wedding ring.
I think I know where he's going.
Wedding ring, yeah, and they've gone score epic loot. There we go. That was a really long build-up.
That was the epic fail joke telling.
Yeah, no, that wasn't supposed to be a joke, but you know what I mean. It was a social commentary on the epic win.
Well, someone somewhere will be holding something above their head and going.
Yeah, well, to be honest, they don't really realize it in the hip hop culture in urban America, but they're pretty much
blings?
Yeah, bling is pretty much loot, isn't it? Like, isn't it? Like, it's the more you have,
Well,
the
it's like
better.
if you kill a gangster, they drop hella loot.
Yeah, they do. They do. And if you're not careful, then other people in your posse will ninja the loot.
Where's my fucking skull?
So you have to make sure you get the watch or whatever when they.
No, it's all about the jewel encrusted skull.
That's true.
Obviously.
Gotta get my skull. The thing is that skull is real, isn't it? It's like a Damien Hirst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, did that come first or did that come after the game? I'm fairly
I think
sure it was fairly modern as a.
No, it is modern. Yeah.
I guess
it'd be nice to think that 50 Cent inspired modern art, but
no, I don't think so. I think that 50 Cent saw this skull or whatever in the paper and was like, "Dude, you've got to put. I love this thing.
I need to get that skull."
I need
But
to
he
put
probably
it
didn't say
hanging
dude.
from the mirror in my car.
Yeah, exactly. Gotta get my skull. I still haven't played that game. I was thinking of renting it just because it sounds so hilarious. This is 50 Cent Blood on the Sand. For those of you who don't know, it's like supposed to be quite an average sort of Gears of War style shooter starring 50 Cent, which is okay to play, but it's just absolutely ridiculous because of the the setup and the pretense and the story and just.
Where's my fucking
Cent.
skull?
Yeah, exactly. He's like he's like in Egypt or something, and he does a gig or something.
Wearing
in
full
exchange for
combat
this.
gear and grenades.
Yeah, with the machine guns and stuff. But maybe that's how the G unit roll anyway. I don't know. For all I know, that is. But
They are loaded.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know how they can afford all that stuff if all they've got is 50 Cent. But
Damn, we are the worst audience ever. It's a terrible groan at the bad jokes.
No, it was terrible. Anyway, yeah, and then the skull is like the prize for this diamond encrusted skull, which you may know as the Damien Hirst thing, is the prize for the doing the gig. But then the person organising the gig runs off with it, and so they have to fight a pitch battle against militias and helicopters just to get that frickin' skull back. And that's the whole premise of the whole game. And apparently you have to do. Apparently you have to do giant, big jumps off big ramps, which aren't actually that big compared to the one in Borderlands.
Hella air.
Yeah, hella air. I don't know. So, shall we talk about games we've actually played? What's the other game you've been playing?
The other
ahead.
thing. Oh, wait, did you want to ask your actual question about Torchlight after we failed to say it on air?
Well, I was just wondering what it was that made Torchlight special in terms of, like, the loot. Because, like, in an MMO, like, I can understand it because, like, you're kind of showing off to everyone around you, depending on how much loot you got, and it's going to make a difference to how you interact with.
Chicka, yeah!
Then, like, if it's not you beat the final boss, which you've already done, then what is the point in collecting really cool loot? I mean, there must be something that's making you do it.
I honestly don't know. It's just like, I want to see what all the different loot is, and I want to make my guy awesome so I can, I don't know, grind to get more loot. It's like, I guess it's the same reason that I play Eve, and then you guys don't like Eve. I just like grinding things for no reason. I don't know why that is. It's really strange.
I didn't say I didn't like Eve.
Careful.
Yeah. But you like Eve over other MMOs, don't you?
Well, I mean, I haven't really played other ones, apart from Guild Wars, I guess. But that barely counts.
Yeah.
And even I guess in Guild Wars I had a fair old, where it's like, I need more storage space to store all this crap that I'm acquiring in case I might need it one day. I just have that. That must just be what I do. Collect shit.
Hoarding instinct, yeah. It's weird that you don't do that too much in real life, though. You don't have, like, a massive collection of magic cards, or people collect things, don't they? You know, I mean, that's kind of the
involves
instinct.
actively going out and finding them, which is much easier on a game than it is in real life.
That's true. That is true.
And in a game, generally, the only things you see and find are things that you want. Whereas in real life, you actually have there's a significant larger number of objects you can look at and not want.
That is true. That's why people choose a specific subject, like, I don't know, pogs or bottle caps or something, I don't know, to collect.
Pogs. Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you remember pogs?
Check out my shiny slammer.
Oh, man.
So many shiny slammers.
Oh,
the shredders. Do you remember the shredders?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. For destroying the pogs. That was ridiculous.
Right, bastards.
I mean, they were genius, though, those people that came up with those pogs things, because they were just bottle caps, weren't they, originally, somewhere in Hawaii or something?
Pieces of cardboard.
And like,
right.
yeah, collectible pieces of cardboard. I mean, that's genius. That's it. You don't even have to put as much work in as you do with, like, the games, you know. They
Some
really
of them
are.
did have some awesome designs on them for the time.
Yeah, that's true, but I mean, they weren't just pieces of cardboard.
Basically, they are just pieces of cardboard with design printed on them in their millions.
It's like those, you could get those, couldn't you, in crisps and stuff, you got like football
Tazos.
sticker things and Tazos, yeah, and you had to make a collection.
Oh man, Tazos, they're so dangerous if you throw them across a room.
Really?
There was a period of time.
Speaking from experience here.
Yeah, speaking from experience, at a place of work, where we would throw Tazos across the room, not at people because we knew how much it did, but you could see noticeable damage marks in the walls from where they did.
Wow. Okay.
Freaking lethal. Well, if you think of it, they are bits of cardboard, but no, Tazos were sort of made of that weird plastic stuff.
Yeah, they were.
And then they had little notches in them, which just tear the shit out.
Yeah, they did. Were the notches for like plugging them into the?
You could
Yeah,
put
you
the
could
make
make
into a
supposedly-
cube.
Yeah.
Oh
you
yeah,
could
that's
build
right.
them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
And
like
there was almost
Kinect without
nothing you could
rods.
build. Yeah. That was lame.
That was weird.
So, what else have you been playing, Zach? You said you'd played another random game.
Yes, I've for some reason gone back to the ancient XCOM UFO defense for shooting aliens with guns.
Which one was that?
That's
That's
first
the-
one, isn't it?
That's the stupid like turn-based strategy. Your blokes
Yeah.
walk around and shoot at
But
aliens.
which one in the series is that?
It's the first. It's because Apocalypse is like the second where they made the graphics better. This is the ancient
No,
one.
it's the
where
third.
It's like hella stupid.
Apocalypse
Graphics.
is the third, I think.
The
'Cause
third?
it was
Oh,
Enemy
well,
Unknown,
Terror
and
from
then
the Deep.
Terror
is
from the
like-
Deep is the sequel.
is but that's not even really a sequel. That was almost an expansion pack. It was like
Right,
exactly the
okay.
same game, only with different enemies and graphics.
So is that what you're playing? The classic Enemy Unknown
Yeah,
Terror
I'm
from the
playing
Deep?
the ancient, not Terror from the Deep, but the original.
Okay.
version.
People love those
non-underwater.
games.
I
You have to
gotta
tell
admit,
me
a bit of
about
kind
that.
of misses these because I remember back in the days of Windows 95 and 3D was just woo kind of deal going on. I remember playing these sort of, they tried to bring that style of game into the modern age. So you'd have these 3D shooters where you could move anywhere. They weren't grid based, but then depending on where you moved, you had the ability. Certain effects would apply, like, oh, you're in cover. Oh, it's going to take a certain amount of action points to shoot this dude. And strangely, I found them massively compelling, and they
Which
just
games
don't
are this,
exist anymore. I can't remember what it was called. It's the really irritating thing.
Was it on
It
PC?
had Alien in the title, but it was that narrows it down a bit. But it was, I just can't remember what it was, but it was awesome. It's like, do you remember seeing the 3D Mark demos? I think it's 3D Mark 06, something like that, where they had that dude in a spacesuit going around.
Yeah, the giant.
These guys
dude.
land, and then this massive guy with a minigun just
Yeah,
owns
yeah,
everything for him. It sort of had that aesthetic, but not as awesome, obviously. And,
Okay.
it was pretty damn sweet, and I sort of, a bit of me wants to see one of those done.
Yeah. Well, it's
done
obviously
again.
inspired by XCOM, presumably. So,
Yeah, exactly. It's
I mean,
that sort of go.
I wanna hear about the
even this
original.
ancient original style thing is still so totally awesome. Where it's just like,
Yeah.
all the buildings and like you can shoot out walls and stuff to make convenient entry points and all this kind of awesome sort of actual physical interaction with the level. And even weird things where it's like, if you're crouching behind certain sort of walls and obstacles, you can see through gaps in them. Like there's these, like at the edges of fields, like farm fields, you get like two slatted fences. If you're standing upright, normally you can't see past them because for some reason your eye level is like equal with the top of the fence. But if you crouch down, you can see through the gap between the two slats. It's actually really awkward.
That's really funny and cool.
So does that mean you have to duck walk around when you're next to fences?
Yeah, it's really annoying because you're walking towards a field and you don't think anything's there, and then suddenly you get shot. It's like, oh, yeah, next guy, you crouch, and then you can see the guy. Oh. Depends on, like, your orientation to, like, and the distance from the friends to, like, what you can see through the gap, and, like, what shots you can take. And obviously, because of the whole way the shots are actual trajectory, you can pull off ridiculous shots. So it's like, you shoot through a window on the side of the building, and then out the window on the opposite side of the building to shoot something across the street. which naturally is totally awesome when you pull this off.
You see, it's that kind of thing that a 3D remake would look awesome because you could have a nice sweeping camera angle of it going.
Yeah, you could do like, here's the bullet time of your previous shots. That would be cool.
Shot.
It's the kind of combat they needed in, like Knights of the Old Republic, sort of, really, wasn't it? Because that would try to do like a sort of turn-based, real-time, full.
It just ended up being a bit of a mash, didn't it? Really,
it wasn't very good.
Attack players.
But
I mean, it was fine.
Again, it's like XCOM is severely turn-based.
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, because it's like if you leave your guys with enough time units at the end of the turn, you can have reaction shots when, like, if the enemy moves into your view, you can return fire if your guys have good reactions. That kind of thing. But it is literally just like straight up turn-based.
Yeah. But I mean, there's not enough turn-based stuff these days.
Well, no. It's gone out of fashion, obviously.
Yeah, but I mean, it sort of went out of fashion in 1995.
It's like health bars in shooters, isn't it? They've just gone.
Yeah, we talked about that last time, weren't we? The health bar thing.
Yeah.
I still think that.
Lag.
I don't think the
that was lag, definitely.
Oh, sorry. Is it gone now? Yeah.
Yes.
I still think that the health bar thing. That they say that you were saying, oh, everyone's going for realism or whatever, but I don't think the kind of hidden shield, Halo shields thing that they go for in Call of Duty or anything is necessarily any more realistic than the old
number. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, it's just as much a conceit, really, isn't it? For gameplay.
Probably more so because.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I've been shot. It's fine. I'll heal over in like a second. Watch it. Look at that.
Yeah. I mean, Halo 1 had a kind of sci-fi explanation for it, and also had a number health underneath the shield.
Yeah. In fact, they've redone that in ODST. They've brought that idea back, and it actually works really well.
Well, apart from in ODST, like it seems like the shields are incredibly tiny compared to the health part
No, that's
of
the
it.
point, though. You're not Master Chief, so
well,
you're
yeah,
really fragile.
that is the reason.
And we're kind of encroaching on what I've been playing this week now. But,
okay.
Shall I just quickly finish up my final thoughts of XCOM?
Yeah, I want to hear about XCOM. Go
on. Basically, the reason I've been playing it again is because I'm still yet to actually finish it. God damn. It's an ancient game. I've played it several times before, but I never get to the end.
Are you playing it on DOSBox or something?
No, it's got like a Windows patch that actually makes it work. It's some weird. It had some weird. It had that classic glitch where all the colours went fucked up, but then someone just wrote a patch for it, so it basically works in Windows, which is pretty nice. Crashes occasionally, but that's okay.
Where'd you get it from then?
I honestly can't remember. I've had it for so long, and I've played it like I've started new games on it several times, and then got like to a significant way through, and then just sort of given up, and then been like, oh, I should play that again. But I don't really want to go back to one of my saves, so it's like, start over. One of these days I'm going to finish it. I think I'm getting significantly closer than I have before. But the trouble is it just turns into quite a grind, because at the start it's like, you like, a UFO comes down, and you intercept it, and then you go to the landing site, and then you land, and then you shoot at the aliens, and you get all the crap, and then you do research, and then you build all your things. But then by the time you're getting towards the sort of end part of the game, you've done all the research, you've done all the manufacturing you need to do, and just actually going to alien intercepts and fighting the aliens is actually really kind of tedious, because it's just like, oh, got to go and kill these guys again.
Oh, okay.
Like, the same shooting that I've been doing, and it's like, I think I'm up to like, because it numbers the UFOs as they turn up, and I think I'm heading towards like UFO 200. So it's like, I've done this like 150 times already. Jesus.
So it needs a better sort of end game situation.
Yeah, I mean, because the only reason that I'm not just going straight to the end is because you get the ability to like psychically train your troops to like, so they get resistance to alien mind control, and you can like turn it around and use mind control yourself. But the trouble is that takes an entire in-game month, and the months take freaking forever, and you can have like, in a month you could easily have like 50 or 60 alien UFOs come down. So
right.
Like, what am I going to do? Am I just going to ignore all these UFOs? I mean, you have to shoot them down, because otherwise your score goes down. But then it's like, am I just going to ignore all these valuable resources lying around? Well, at this point, I probably should.
So, I mean, how bad is
the sort of?
Yeah, it's like, I can't leave that shit there. That could be awesome. Only I know exactly what's going to be there.
So can you get by without the psychic, like, defense? Can you get by without it then?
Well, for most things you can, sort of in the mid-game, well, mid towards the end, but probably not for the last mission, because the last mission you're going into, like, a big alien base that will definitely have a whole shit ton of psychically trained aliens who will probably just really badly fuck you up if you send in weak guys on the side. Like, I need to actually train my troops up for this final battle, but then that takes a whole month before it shows any progress on the side training, because the psychic training only is assigned at the end of the month.
So are you saying that it'd be a better game if they tweaked it so that you could learn the psychic defense a bit quicker?
Well, I mean, the idea of... Because, I mean, the psychic thing is ridiculously powerful once it's trained, especially against, like, the psychically weak aliens. Less so against the psychically powerful ones. But
so it needs, like, stages of psychic ability.
I mean, it's fine to have it be... I wouldn't mind so much if it was, like, a month the first time, and then from then on it was continuous. Like, if it took a month to figure out their psychic potential... and then it gave them the number, and then from then on the bar would just increase gradually, that would probably be much more useful.
Training on the job.
Rather than having to do it in big chunks.
Get a modern apprenticeship in psychic defense.
Something like that.
Something along those lines.
Yeah, maybe it should have been one of those things where it's sort of like, as you get more fucked up by aliens, the better you get at resisting it.
Well, that is kind of what happens, like, on some of the other stats. Like, if you're carrying a big, heavy gun, you get more strength. If you get shot a lot, you get more health. If you run around a lot, you get more time units. That sort of thing. So your stats can improve on your guys gradually over time, depending on what they're doing. And theoretically, the psychic stats can improve if you keep using psi attacks, but that is, relatively speaking, very slow compared to the monthly big chunk that it does.
Interesting.
So one day I will finish this. I've got, it is literally, I've got to the point where it's like, there's no more research I can do. I've got every possible weapon that I can have. I've got a goddamn shit ton of money and all bases all over the world to protect everywhere. And it's just like, now I just have to wait a couple of months so I can fortify myself for the final battle.
Right.
So maybe this time I will actually finish it. I'm closer than I've ever been.
It's the kind of situation you get in with a lot of like RPGs whereby you've done everything but you need to grind for the final boss, and it's kind of a bit of a chore. Like, I know
well, I don't know. I get the other thing in like Final Fantasies, and that I'm still I play them to a point, and then I don't continue with the main story because I'm just like, well, I know there's some stuff I haven't done yet. Yeah, and it's like FF8's a bad example because the side quests are actually relatively interesting and rewarding. And you just sort of sit there going, but I don't want to carry on with the story. I'm loving the story, but there's so much else to do, and I don't want to leave it behind.
FF7 was just the worst when I did that. Where it was like, oh god, I could go to the crater right now and just do the final fight, but there's still shit that I want to do. And unfortunately, because this is FF7 we're talking about, the shit is stupidly obscure and involves all kinds of weird things that you never would have guessed, and takes fucking forever.
Yeah,
if you want to get all the final limit breaks in FF7, that takes bloody forever because you have to, in order to get the higher level limit breaks on each character, you have to use the lower level limit breaks, and in order to use the lower level limit breaks, they have to take damage. So it's really an exercise of finding an enemy that damages you a lot, and then just standing there, and taking it, and then using the limit breaks over and over and over to level them up, which is really.
Oh, is that how the limit system works? I thought it was just.
Yeah, that's why it's like when you get the occasional limit level up in Final Fantasy VII, you'd be like, oh, that's totally out of the blue and weird. But yeah, that was the actual system it worked on.
I thought that was the whole point of limit breaks, was that you got sort of angry because you were getting hurt.
Well, yeah, that's how they work. But then, it wasn't made clear that in order to unlock the higher level limit breaks, you had to use the lower level level ones a certain amount.
I see. Interesting. Wasn't there like a massive enemy like final weapon or something that was really hardcore?
Yeah, that was the other stupid things about Final Fantasy VII, obviously, was the literally ridiculous side quest where it's like, go underwater and fight this boss, only you can only survive 20 minutes underwater because that's your air supply or some shit. Utterly destroys you in one hit every time. You have to use some ridiculous combination of materia that just like insta counters it, and then creates an endless chain of infinite attack or something to just destroy it in one turn, which literally takes 20 minutes.
Cool.
It was like, you're never going to figure this out unless, you go and read a guide, because one singular person in the entire world has worked
Figured it out.
distributed the information.
Okay, genius.
Well, not different, but sort of similar note, we were talking at work this week about whether or not so much whether or not we'd like there to be an FF7 remake, but whether or not there should be one.
Yeah.
In the respect, you see, you know what I mean? It's like one of those things. It's like one of the most highly coveted and loved games ever made, yet Square seem relatively reluctant in bringing it to the, bringing it back to the table. I mean, they've re-released it a couple of times, like it's now available on PSN and PSP, but for HD,
I heard it would cost too much for some reason. They said, I don't know why that's a reason, but they said it would be prohibitively expensive to make.
Well, probably, but it depends how they go about it, really, doesn't it? Like, they could, for instance, just the original renders for the backgrounds and things they might have at a higher resolution than originally existed. And they only really need to, the fight sequences are probably the hardest bits to do. It's
are you
not
saying
like
release
them to
like
3Dify the world, but
are you saying like an HD version, like not a remake, but more like a
sort of a halfway house is what I'd say, so you don't lose some of the original charm. Although, for the love of God, get rid of those low polygon field versions of the characters. That really ticks me off.
That was
Look
because
at my
the whole
square
world
fist.
was polygons. It's like they had to. Oh well, no, I guess you're talking about not even the world map, but the literal.
No, just the
over
characters.
over the stupid backgrounds.
Yeah, the field characters.
Because where the battle versions were actually improved in polygon.
I never quite got that. Yeah, I never quite got that. Why were they different in the field to what they were in the battles? Because surely they could have used the battle rendering in the field, because it's actually the rendering in the field is considerably easier than the battle rendering.
I suspect it was because when in the field the characters are smaller, and due to the low resolution, probably if you had high polygon characters at that resolution, it actually would look worse.
Do you not think it would not sell like hotcakes though?
It would.
I don't know. Do you think?
It would, but I don't think it would. I don't think it necessarily. I don't think people would like it as much as they think they would.
No, they'd probably still sell it.
Well, maybe it's aged a little bit, but yeah.
Well, they're saying on the Bombcast that like you'd definitely need to be able to skip like the massive GF attacks and stuff, because at the time they were like a huge graphical showcase, but now it's like really boring to sit through old graphics,
But then they have updated graphics, so maybe you would want to see them. Oh, but then you would actually want to still be able to skip them after you've done them once.
Yeah, but
they got the idea in 9, didn't they, where they made the summon sequences shorter the second time you saw them. Although you could turn that option off if you wanted to.
Or you could or you could pointlessly make it a game feature like in 8, where mash this button while the sequence is going on for bonus damage.
I only got told about that recently. I never knew what that boost meant. I thought it was just like a stat boost to the character, and that I never actually knew you could mash for more power.
Yeah, I can't remember why I worked that out.
But that was
another classic.
The point I'm trying to make though is that if
carry on.
The point I'm trying to make though is that if Square are saying that it's prohibitively expensive to make FF7, but yet most people are of the opinion it's going to sell fucking tons, then what's the problem? I mean, let's be honest. There's not like the last few FF games, with the possible exception of 13, have hit the market completely. I mean, X and 12 were mildly disappointing, shall we say.
Mildly.
And 13 sets to be, good, but not quite what we expect from the series, kind of thing. And, so they've kind of fallen off a bit. Surely a revamp of something they know is going to be a money spinner is a no-brainer.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know their business sort of decisions, but
yeah,
it does.
Or
make
maybe
sense
it's just a sort of like company ethos or something where it's.
Or maybe it literally. I mean, if you think
we don't
about
want to remake
how they already removed PS2 support from PS3, and maybe it literally is. Maybe the architecture is too different now. Where it literally would be a hell of a lot of programming effort to update a PS1 game programmatically fully onto a newer system.
I doubt that. I really doubt that because the
I think-
emulation is so easy that surely porting it isn't.
But that's why
bad.
they removed the emulation from PS3.
No, but FF7 and FF8 are PlayStation 1, and you can
Yeah, but that's
emulate
what
on the PS3.
Well, yes,
I'm
because-
sure it's
I
powerful
don't know.
enough to brute force that.
Well, yeah, that's the logical choice. But then that would be an emulation. You're talking
Yeah.
about because it's like how much update can you do before emulation becomes too stressful on the system as well as new.
Well,
graphics?
yeah, it wouldn't be an emulation; it'd have to be a recode. But they've got a lot of old, but at the end of the day, a lot of that old code would just be engine rather than game logic. If you see what I mean.
Hmm.
Maybe I don't really understand how that fits together, but my understanding is that game logic is usually separate from the graphics engine as much as possible, and it's
I'm
the
sure
engine
just
that
assumed
needs
so
the
excuse anyway.
it's the engine that needs tweaking on a platform by platform basis, whereas the game logic remains the same underneath.
It seems to me that, with the exception of Nintendo and the Wii, which has obviously gone in its very successful money-spinning direction, which doesn't really appeal to me, but the Japanese games industry in general has gone a bit.
It has died almost, hasn't it?
Industry seems to be, yeah, it has. I mean, Nintendo are obviously making lots of money, but other than that, like Japanese used to be the industry, and now, it's not looking good. Which is a shame in many ways. I mean, there's
the odd thing coming out, isn't there? Like the Ninja Gaidens are still going, Tecmo are still about with their stuff, but obviously you mentioned Ninty, but Namco have kind of fallen off.
Yeah, I mean,
They're not exactly
Bayonetta
doing
is an
much these
example.
days. Yeah,
I guess,
I suppose.
of a Japanese, properly Japanese game. But but the Ninja Gaiden people aren't they? They're working on like Metroid for Nintendo at the moment,
which would be
aren't they?
sweet. Although that obviously does have a nice, if you've seen the trailers, it obviously has this Japanese flair to its
Yeah, that's good.
direction.
Otherwise known as Samus talks a lot. They're bitches about something.
Although I'm slightly surprised that for a Tecmo game they haven't made her boobs jiggle whilst standing still.
Maybe Nintendo said no
God.
to that. Who knows? Jiggle physics.
Was it Ninja Gaiden 2 that allowed you to jiggle the boobs with the 6-axis?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Lol.
Dearie me.
Like a
But
jiggle.
yeah.
It's been nearly an hour and we've only covered me, so we'd better move on.
We like the
Yeah,
boobies.
okay. So, Rob, what you been playing?
ODST mainly. Catching up on the old Halo universe again.
Excellent.
And
How is
yeah,
it?
as we were mentioning earlier, it is pretty good actually. They brought back the old health system, and as I was trying to explain earlier, you're not Master Chief anymore. You're just a rookie
Yeah.
trooper who
That's kind of the hook,
kind of
isn't it?
fucks up his landing because of the slip space rupture that
Well,
happens
he
over
didn't
New
really
Mombasa.
get
Well, okay, yes. Everything goes tits up essentially when trying to land in New Mombasa with a slipstream rupture happening in your flight path.
Because the
yeah,
whole city goes Akira, basically, doesn't it?
Yeah, and still remarkably intact. But
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the weird thing about it. It was like, there's this huge explosion, and then in Halo 3, it's like, they escape it, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, we're never going to see that place again, so it doesn't matter. But apparently,
Halo
that
2
explosion
is-
isn't actually as dangerous as they thought.
or maybe just ripped people apart and actually like metal and shit is still cool.
Well, they did show it in the Halo game, didn't they? Because they showed it blasting along that road, and then like all the cars go flying, and you're like, oh, that's like a nuclear explosion, obviously. Apart from
Yeah, it's
apparently,
more like
it
a
doesn't
shockwave,
actually do
isn't it?
very much damage.
Well, unless like building construction has come on a bit in the 500 years in the future.
But
Well,
it's
they were
clearly
like-
not.
Just in case a nuke goes off in the city, you need to make our buildings hella strong.
It's not radioactive though, or anything. So
It doesn't
you've got
appear
no
to be.
problem.
Well,
No.
no, they do say in the intro of ODST when you're in the drop, they say there's a radiation spike, don't they?
Oh yeah, but that's because that was probably caused by the. Well, yeah, they do say it, but maybe it's quick. Like the rupture itself creates radiation, but it doesn't get sucked into everything around it.
But that
Or
could
it
mean
doesn't-
anything.
It doesn't leave
Because I mean,
fallout.
light is radiation, and there's a huge
Yeah,
spike
or-
of light. So
Massive
or
radio
ultraviolet.
radiation.
It might not mean like gamma radiation or
Gamma.
the nuclear kind, the nuclear decay kind. So
Yeah.
yes.
Well,
so
anyway,
you
yeah,
crash
it's pretty
land.
cool because it's actually it's quite a bit different from how Halo's been set out in the past, where it's like here's a mission, here's the story behind that mission, and it flows, basically in a sequential fashion. This has you sort of roaming the city as the rookie, after nightfall, like several hours after the initial landing, trying to work out what the shit's just happened. And you wander around and you find clues, and in the process of finding a clue, you get to see play as one of the different members of your squad each time and see what their story was. And I haven't quite
How
tried
does that
it,
work?
but
Do you pick up like a helmet just like in Halo 1 and you see the like video replay? Or no, you go and play.
It's very classic sort of
kinda actually. It's
epic
pretty close.
flashback where it's like you're looking at this thing and you're like, how did this get here? But then of course instead of him like reminiscing because it wasn't actually him, it like switches to the city's CCTV cameras and then like shows.
Okay.
He doesn't see it, or does he? That's not what I want.
We don't really know at this point. We don't really know at this point. I haven't finished it yet, but you don't sort of
because he wanders around looking at things, and then it's like, does he actually infer any of this data from looking at this stuff? The stuff that you find out by playing it?
Not,
Will he
not
eventually
really sure.
come through somehow and save everyone?
Well, there must be some point to him, like, finding these things, because otherwise he wouldn't be going around looking at them, would he? I mean, he's obviously trying to piece something together, isn't he? Like, what happened?
Yeah, I suppose we'll find out towards the end of the game as to what how he works out how the story fits together, or maybe he just finds his dudes and doesn't care. But
so what's the gameplay like? Like the shooting?
It's good. It's actually feels quite a lot more difficult because, as I say, you're not Master Chief. You're quite fragile. You don't have a shield like Master Chief, but they have the same concept and they call it stamina.
Right,
so you basically get hurt for a bit and then you start breathing heavily, which is your indication that you're slightly getting hurt.
Right,
and the screen goes very red.
So it's much more like Call of Duty or something.
Kinda, yeah. But then at that point, once you reach a certain point, you start losing your actual health, which is a big bar at the top of the screen. And but that doesn't recover over time. Once you get hurt, you're permanently hurt until you find like a health kit. And
so that's the old style.
Yeah, but the thing is that because your stamina is really weak compared to Master Chief's shield, once you're getting hurt, and your health has gone to a small little red blob, and you start hearing the heart monitor sound from your suit, it's you're basically pretty much screwed at that point. If you get shot much more, unless you find a health pack, you are going to go down, so you can't take risks.
And relatively speaking, it takes a long time for the stamina to recover compared to a shield. You have to stay in cover for quite a long time and not be shot at all.
But it's not like a gradual recovery either. It's like when you recover, it's pretty much instant. So it's like you have to stand there for longer, but when it comes back, it's like, ooh.
Because if you remember back to the first Halo game, actually, it took quite a long time before you started. Compared to 2 and 3, it took a long time before it started to.
It does play a lot more like 1 than the others, which I don't think is a bad thing.
You don't have dual wield.
No, I like.
Yeah, you don't have dual wield either.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Feels a bit weird.
And you have a pistol
you're kind of
hella
used
powerful.
Yeah, the pistol's really powerful. And
cool.
Yeah, it's neat. It is good. I mean, the highlight of the graphics engine is, again, it seems to run a little bit. I don't know. There's certain bits that look nicer than Halo 3, and understandably, I suppose. But it's using the same engine. But it still does outside well. And it's a bit strange that most of the game is in buildings and stuff when it does like landscapes and things so lovely. And
so how come it's in buildings? If you're in the city at night and you keep doing flashbacks, like
well, no, because the actual missions are of your crew who also landed in the city. And or around the city, so the flashbacks are still of them.
And do they tend to go into buildings? And
some do, some don't.
Okay, yeah.
To
but you're saying quite a lot of the game.
Like some of them are defensive, some of them are sort of
it's like
wandering around.
Bits of city the bits of city that you see seem like a lot different to the bits that you saw in Halo 3. It's like those stupid yellow buildings and alleyways.
Yeah.
Much more like roads and stuff in ODST than it was in Halo 3, I guess.
I suppose they're trying to make it more city-like, though, because Halo 3 doesn't really depict it much like a city, and you're not really in New Mombasa that much.
No.
Except it's relatively close to Halo 2's approach, and for all we know, you could be in Old Town.
Yeah.
And they sort of suggest that you're in New Town.
Right. That's good. It reminds me of, do you remember the E3 demo for Halo 2 back in the day before it came out? It had a lot of, like, driving around the streets kind of action. I thought that looked really cool.
Yeah, there's one level we get to drive a tank around the streets, but generally you don't get to drive in the city.
Okay.
which is nice. I've seen a couple of the enemies driving ghosts around the city, but they bugger off before you can get anywhere near them.
Oh, okay. So you can't hijack them.
No, I think that might just be for effect. Maybe that'll reveal itself later. There's also a couple of new enemies I'm not quite sure what to do with yet, and there's an interesting story undertone about the city being intelligent, and there are sort of hints about as you're walking around the city, like certain signs will change as you get near them. Like
the caretaker,
you walk next to some of the, or Virgil he's called, but I don't know, or the superintendent.
That's it, superintendent.
You sort of walk next to like what was showing like a sort of information sign. As you get closer, it pops up saying "detour" and things like that. And it seems like the city can only talk in the language of like public service warnings and things, so it can't be explicit to you. So everything is sort of hinted at what it means, and we don't really know where that's going yet. But it's kind of cool.
Oh, that is
Nor
cool.
would I reveal it if I did.
I heard there's a really good sort of almost like a radio play going on where you keep hearing like
that's how you learn about the city and what it's up to, and
I heard that's really well done. Is it good?
It's alright. It's well acted. It's a bit
let's
say in places it is utterly bizarre, but
okay.
A particular sequence featuring an enormous fat man being one of the weirder moments in the game, and it's also a lot harder to play solo than it is co-op. It seems like it's geared up for co-op, even though it's a solo story, because
I thought that was really weird.
There's lots of enemies in certain areas. There are quite a few of them, and maybe that's to make it because it's like a half sequel. They need to make it more of a challenge. But yeah, if you're playing in co-op, there aren't any fewer enemies. Or there aren't any more enemies. I mean, it seems like fighting hunters is almost impossible now on your own.
Right.
Because it's just hard to get behind them because they can attack behind themselves, and it's
I thought it was pretty weird how right at the when we started playing co-op, it was like the first thing that happens is when you finish your fucked up orbital drop and then you get out of your pods. We came out of 2 different pods in 2 different places. It was like, hooray, co-op, we're 2 different rookies or whatever. But then as soon as you go into a flashback, because it's the flashback of one person, you just become a duplicate of that person. It's like they nearly managed to convince you that it's designed for co-op right at the start, but then that instantly falls apart.
Yeah, it's a shame.
It is a bit of a shame, but the story wouldn't have played out if they'd have designed it completely for co-op.
No.
It just wouldn't
it wouldn't have made any sense.
No.
It was kind of inconvenient that it was perfectly designed to. It's like after Halo 3's awesome co-op, where it's like, here's some more elites, because that makes perfect sense. But then in this one, it's like the story kind of precludes from doing that, unfortunately.
It's also relatively irritating that I can't remember the next sentence I was going to say.
That is quite irritating. I can imagine that being extremely annoying.
It'll come back to me.
Okay. Fair enough. So you recommend it overall?
I do, yeah. Just because if you like the Halo universe, it's different enough to keep you interested.
It's
you
cheap
do have
as
to
well,
approach
isn't
it. It is cheap now, and you do have to approach it in a different way. That was it. I was going to say about the split screen still being shit.
Oh.
It's it sort of 4:3s the whole screen, and rather than being displayed at 16:9, so you end up with these. I forget what they're called. It's not letterboxing. Is it pillar boxing?
Yeah.
Down the edges of the screen, which means your visible area is quite. So you end up moving closer and closer to the screen, like a tard, in a vain attempt of getting some more resolution out of it. And it's like that doesn't work like that.
So how does the engine hold up to the split screen? Do you get things popping in a lot more when you're playing?
A little bit. The only time I noticed it was on one of the more wider levels where you get like every now and then in some of the buildings you get like kiosks, like supposedly where people must have either like ATMs or things like that, and they do pop in a bit when you're like they won't appear on one side of the room to the other and things like that. But in solo, it's fine. It's it does play well in co-op as well, which is good. But then again, Halo always has. So
yeah, I liked the co-op in Halo 1. It was good. Although that had no explanation.
I guess in this, since it is kind of more difficult and with the slightly different health system, I did find that we were doing slightly more tactical stuff, where it's like, I need to stay in cover for a minute, you go and cover fire me or something, or I need to run across here and grab ammo because I haven't got any.
Well, the weird thing was, I think me and Zach have got to the stage where we don't actually need to communicate that much. We just
Right.
sort of naturally work with each other. Like Zach will go one way and I'll go the other way, and like the way we took down a couple of those hunters was awesome, and we didn't really.
Well, on the second attempt, the first attempt we failed
yeah,
quite badly.
Well, we got properly owned. But you know, got to the point where we just sort of start gelling. Like Zach will naturally pick up certain weapons, and I'll pick up a different set based on what he's using, and it'll even out. And it's weird, but it's awesome.
Yes, clearly we are just totally awesome when working together. Just like the classic not orchestra example from that when we were at Barlow's.
Orchestra?
You've lost me now. Oh yeah, that was it, wasn't it? What was the game called? It's
Red
Articulate, wasn't it? And I had to explain the word orchestra without saying the word orchestra. And Zach got it in like 2 seconds, and everyone else was like, "How the fuck did you do that?"
Because it was like everyone was going to guess, and I was like, "How can I say this in a way that only Rob will understand?" It's like a bunch of people, and they sit in a pit, and Rob's like, "Orchestra." It's like, "Yes, how the fuck did you get that?"
That was pretty damn good. Yeah. Yeah. So how does ODST co-op say compare to a more similar co-op experience lately? I guess the benchmark is in Modern Warfare 2, the Spec Ops mode. I mean,
yeah, it's not really, you can't really compare them that much,
right?
Though, because Spec Ops is little individual, specifically designed tasks.
Yeah.
And some of which are obviously designed for co-op, and some of which aren't. You can't. It doesn't really flow like that, you know. Like in Spec Ops, for instance, it forces one player to be in the chopper while the other one is tossing around on the ground, and whereas Halo just plays out, you know, naturally. You can still choose to like one guy be a driver, one guy be a gunner, you know, that kind of thing. But it's up to you. But it's
more dynamic.
It's never forced upon you.
Okay, that's cool.
And of course it's it's more flowing in Halo, because in Spec Ops you have to play in small little chunks, and they're really hard, and if you're playing it on 3-star level, and
so you're not like making progress.
Yeah, they're really hard
way.
and they're really short is the other thing.
Okay.
So you spend like 10 minutes at most on a level. And,
right, and in that time you're probably playing it.
Trumpeting train.
It's the jazz train.
Trumpeting train.
Oh, yeah, that's the other awesome thing. When you're doing the detective stuff,
right,
in ODST, and see, now I've got some ambience, it's awesome. When you're doing the detective stuff, it kind of, it plays this, like, the music sort of turns a bit jazzy, which is original to the Halo series, and it's, I quite like it. It's pretty cool.
Interesting.
Although the other side of this coin, which I'm quite surprised about myself, not the fact that you get it, but you get the entire Halo 3 multiplayer set.
Yeah.
All the DLC and things like that. And I bunged it in the console for a quick game at the end of an evening, and forgot how much I enjoy Halo multiplayer.
Right.
And the new DLC stuff is actually probably good, because they brought back some of the most awesome levels from Halo 2. For instance, like Midship is back. And
that's
amazing.
Okay.
The grenade hole.
Yeah.
Just throw grenades everywhere. Grab lifts.
That level is still the most fun I think I've ever had on that style of deathmatchy sort of thing. It's brilliant.
So, because you never really played that much of Halo 3 multiplayer, which surprised me, because I mean, they obviously went out of their way to make sure it was pretty much the same as Halo 2 in terms of feel.
But the level design was mostly bad. Let's be honest. Okay. I don't really like the new levels. I have the same problem with Modern Warfare 2. I understand that it's a good game, but at the same time, I don't like the map design.
Okay.
That's just me. I don't know if it's actually bad, but I don't like it. And
okay.
I had the same problem with a lot of the Halo 3 levels, that I just didn't enjoy them.
Okay.
So the DLC does remedy that. They are good fun. A lot of the new maps, more than sort of just pretty.
Do they look cool as well as being the old maps? Have they like upgraded?
Yeah, they've HDified. The Midship doesn't look that much different, because to be honest, it was hard to make the Covenant Heretic look any better than just making it more purple and a bit shinier and a bit glowier. So it does look awfully similar, but it's the fun.
Yeah. It's the fun.
It's the fun.
Okay.
But, you know, some of my best multiplayer memories come from Halo 2 Xbox lands, and not
Sounds
without
like-
good reason. It is one of the best multiplayer games out there. It's just you definitely need people to play it with to get the most out of it. It's a social thing. You can have fun
Definitely.
on your own, but it works so much better when you've got people you know.
Yeah, exactly. They just shut down Halo 2, didn't they? At last.
No, that hasn't happened yet.
Oh, it's going to happen though. Isn't it?
That's due in April.
They've got some kind of.
I feel kind of
reward scheme.
emotional about that for some reason. It's
End of an era.
it's kind of a sad time because it's not just Halo 2 that's dying, is it? It's the entire old Xbox Live that's dying.
Yeah, but no one cares about any other game, do they, on Xbox Live? I mean, what they playing? Mech Warrior or something?
Burnout.
Yeah. But do you know what I mean? There was some. It was a pioneer, and to see it go is a little bit saddening.
Do you see what they're doing with storage, which sounds interesting? They're changing their whole philosophy, it
the
seems.
ability to use your own USB sticks instead of buying MUs.
Yeah, and in fact, they're going to completely phase out memory units, which
Makes
is
that
kind of
slot on the front of the Xbox incredibly useful.
yeah, but that makes it that kind of hints towards a new form factor. doesn't
Maybe
it?
they'll
Like
make
a
an
slim-
adapter, or
Yeah, probably make an adapter for
that'd be
the
nice.
USB
So you can at
ports.
least reuse them because otherwise they're a bit useless.
Yeah, but I
still
reckon
think
they'll have it.
Not really enough USB slots on the Xbox anyway. Even now,
There's
you
still
can
only
make an
3.
adapter for the MU slot to turn it into USB. That would be useful. Not that I imagine that would be easy.
I've got to be honest. I still have a bit of a problem with how the Xbox storage system works on the whole, anyway. In that it's a pain in the arse copying files about, and some programs don't let you copy them, and it's hard to tell. Files don't seem to label themselves properly half the time, so you can't tell what this file actually is and whether or not you need to keep it or not. And there are some games, for instance, that once you put them onto a device, you can't move them onto another device. It goes, no, you can't do that, and it's like, sorry, what? Because there are certain things I like storing on my memory unit, so I can, like the Left 4 Dead save and stuff, so I can. When we play on someone else's console, you keep all your stuff and you can get your achievements and things, and it just makes that nice. But so I have some huge files on the MU that I can't move for some reason because they're flagged as you can't do this, and it's
Right.
it just seems retarded.
Well, maybe that'll change as well with all this. Because they're doing, it seems like quite a big update in terms of.
Well, hopefully, yeah, because if it's on your own stuff, you won't be able to move it where you want to. I mean,
Exactly.
I think it's the first console that's ever sort of introduced that problem. It's crap. It really is awful.
Yeah, well, maybe they'll fix it. I hope so. But they're phasing out.
In the meantime, I've just got to be
120
careful
gig.
not to use my MU for anything big.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you're coping in the meantime, but
Yeah,
it'd be good if
And
they fix it.
I need a bigger hard disk for my Xbox though.
Well, yeah, they're phasing out the 120 gig one, so
I've
Do
still
you,
got the 8, so
yeah, so presumably the 250 or whatever, which they've just released or whatever, will get cheaper.
wait,
Relatively.
no, it wasn't an 8, it was a 20. Sorry,
So, yeah. Yeah.
it's mostly filled with the Guild.
Oh, really? Yeah,
I
that
don't
all
watch
downloaded.
season 3, but it is awesome.
Oh, I should get onto that. But yeah, so that would be quite interesting. Presumably, I mean, will you be able to plug in a USB external hard disk of whatever size?
No,
you want into
they've
USB
already
port?
announced it's limited to 16 gig max,
Oh,
and
interesting.
it's also limited to 2 devices max as well.
Oh, okay.
So,
So-
you can only use 16-bit memory sticks, and 16 gig memory sticks.
Yeah.
And you're only allowed to use 2 of them at the same time, so you can, in theory, expand by 32 gig.
Yeah, interesting.
It's not
But can
quite
you swap
ideal.
them out, or does it designate those two specific to that Xbox? Could you just keep swapping out to a new, like?
Presumably, it would work like the hard disks and the MU, so you can pull them out and put them in any Xbox you want.
Yeah. So you wouldn't actually really be limited to 32. You just have to keep buying more 16 gig sticks. It would be inconvenient. You'd have a lot of sticks, but theoretically you could.
Yeah,
make more
you'd hit the
space.
old school memory card problem of PlayStation and GameCube era. It's a it's a grind, but
So you've been playing any other games other than ODST?
we did
Has
a bit
that been
more
your-
Uncharted.
Yeah.
I'm near the end of that now, and I don't really want to particularly mention too much about it because I covered everything last week. But
Fair enough. Okay.
apart from two things, it's still glitchy as hell. The
Man,
pa-
I saw some hilarious glitches when I was over there.
Yeah, that was one I was going to mention. There was
Really?
I had difficulty getting. I put the patch back on after my problems
Okay.
last week, and then it instantly didn't load. Didn't even get to the title screen.
Okay.
So I just reset the console and it was happy. But so the patch still seems awfully crap. But you can but there was this brilliant thing where we managed to get Drake to ride an NPC.
What?
It was amazing. There's a
Ride?
character you meet sort of halfway through the game called Tenzin.
Okay.
And at one point he leant over to open a door and put the key in the lock. And I'm running to catch up with him. And, as you do, you sort of push the jump button every now and then. And so I jumped. And so he's doing this running, waving arm and leg jump. And I managed to land with Tenzin's head, where he's bent over, basically in my crotch area. And of course, I couldn't land, but he was still doing the crazy jumping, wailing animation. So I'm there sat on his head going, woo!
Like a bucking bronco.
Yeah, it was
That's
amazing.
crazy.
That was fairly precise.
Oh, dear
It was
me.
literally pretty much the first thing I saw of that game as well. Where I was like, I'm going to
Yeah.
sit down and watch Rob play this. What the fuck?
Oh dear.
No,
I thought it was supposed to be really technically accomplished, that game. Like, I'm
Oh, it is,
surprised
but
to
you
hear,
can, you can just sort of tack it out. It's like Gears of War multiplayer.
Right, yeah.
The single player was awesome. It was so glitchy in multiplayer,
Yeah, yeah.
and it basically handles like that. I did come across a couple of sections as well where the way it handles jumping is a bit harsh. For instance, there was one section where you line up a jump perfectly. You run up towards it, and then when you reach the edge, it somehow thinks in its wisdom, oh, actually, I know where you want to be going. You want to be going about 30 degrees to the right, which is an abyss.
Great.
It's
Yeah.
like, great, thank you, control scheme.
I know that feeling. Yeah.
It's
It has
like
the
the auto.
classic-
It has a sort of auto jump, doesn't it? A bit like Zelda. So as you approach a ledge, you just hold the X button down, and it will jump for you at the right moment.
Okay.
And
It's a bit like Tomb
sometimes
Raider
it
sort of
makes
used
that
to do.
decision wrong, and
Okay.
which
And
is
it has
a bit.
the classic other problem of that kind of jumping thing that I saw at least once, where you line up the jump, you start running towards it, and then as you jump, the camera angle changes. You're like, which direction do I have to be pushing now?
Yeah, but you don't. Most of the time, the game's pretty good with that. But yeah, there's the odd moment where it tries to be cinematic and messes you up.
Mm.
And there's also a section where, for some reason, the how far you can fall seems to change. Like it has a very. You don't really fall and get hurt. You either fall and perfectly fine, or you fall and are completely dead.
Oh, okay.
Because there are varying scales of dead. No. There, and at one point in the game, it just seems a bit harsh, where you're trying to get down off a tower and to sort of pick up some ammo and stuff, and if you drop very slightly too far, it considers it a death, and then you'll move to somewhere else on the thing and seemingly fall the same distance, and you'll go, yeah, that's fine, and can be quite irritating. But still,
Okay.
some brilliant ideas, and it still looks amazing.
Yeah,
Moving
I
on.
mean, it's sticking. I should probably talk about what I've been playing, shall I?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else I've actually done this week, though.
Rob,
to try
didn't you want to talk
extend
about
my
Explosion
segment.
Man or something?
Oh, yeah.
Oh
you
yeah,
said
we didn't
last
cover
week.
that last week. Yeah, I forgot about that. Explosion Man, totally
Yeah.
awesome.
Is it
There's-
really
there's-
that
there's
great?
Yeah, there's got to be something to be said for a game that only has a control scheme of move and explode.
Yeah,
It's-
that's all it has.
And that's how it describes the controls as well. You even get a
Okay.
little achievement for trying to change them.
How do you? What do you mean change them? What
Well, you go
changed
into
it?
the options and you go view controls, and it lets you select a button to remap, and then you try to, and then the only option available to you is explode. So
Okay.
you say, that's fine, I'll accept that, and then it gives you an achievement for trying to master the mastery of mastering your controls or something.
There's like a comedy joke achievement.
It's really awesome. But yeah, essentially, exploding makes you jump and kill
Yeah.
stuff around you at the same time. And the entire concept is using your jump. You have to just get around the level and get to the end of it. And so exploding next to barrels causes you to jump higher or at ridiculous angles, or certain things will shoot you and you lose your jump power, for instance, when you have that. And it's hard really to explain much more than that, other than it's hilarious.
Okay.
As you're running around, he just sort of makes these little odd noises, like meow. Like he'll fling his arms out like an airplane and go meow, meow, and you'll be like jumping off walls, going woohoo, yeah.
So does it have like puzzles?
And at the start of it, it has like sort of puzzles in that you have to sort of work out how to jump and how to chain your jumps together in order to hit certain switches to move on to the next section. Sometimes with the threat of a rising pool of water, and that obviously because you're made of explosions is deadly.
Okay.
And like certain things you have to do fast, otherwise you'll get
some kind of coolant or something. Judging by the way it looks kind of cold, it has like
it's sort of
smoky
steamy.
coldness above. Well, yeah, I saw that as like icy
air,
like evaporating carbon dioxide or whatever. That way that cold things look sometimes. Like if you open a freezer, condensation. I guess it is.
Yeah,
that's what I imagine that would be. But really, same difference.
Yeah,
open-faced roast beef sandwich.
That is still possibly the best thing.
Is Donut Guy a bit of spoiler if I mention Donut Guy?
No, I think that's been mentioned significantly in reviews of the game.
Oh, there's this awesome thing where you basically, sort of halfway through most of the way through the first world, there's only 3 worlds, and they're essentially all the same. It's just to try and organise the levels a bit. But most of the way through the first world, you come across this fat guy who's eating donuts, and as you approach him, instead of being able to like just walk past him or murder him, for some reason you grab hold of him in a loving embrace, and the music just changes that instance to "Everybody loves donuts." I know I do.
What the hell?
Everybody loves donuts.
That's mental.
And then you have to use him to solve puzzles, obviously.
Yeah,
it's not just
he can absorb weapons because he's that fat. And
I see.
So you carry him around, and
is he as fat as the guy in Halo ODST memory? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, he's probably not quite that fat. He's pretty
fat.
Okay. Fat comparison.
Yeah. Very important. Very important.
Compare the fat man. It's a.
So you get it on Steam, don't you, Explosion Man?
No,
or is it
Xbox Live?
Oh, okay.
It's live arcade. It's just amazing. It's just and the co-op mode. It has a completely separate co-op set of levels, and you get just as many as you do in the single player, which is awesome to begin with. And you can use up to 4 people. Although to be fair, they're all designed for 2 players, and it gets a bit more difficult when you start adding new players to the mix.
Okay.
Because you all have to do stuff in sync or hit switches at the same time, and sometimes getting you all about the level is kind of difficult. But it's really good because it's an entirely new set of levels, and they're all designed so you have to use the other player. And
do you like explode off the other player?
Yeah, you can fling each other by using one person's explosion, so the other guy can save his explosion power to get further.
I see.
For instance, and you also can bounce off each other, so you can both get up to areas by exploding at the same time. And although we did manage to glitch it slightly, but if you just run together and explode at the same time, you seem to get double height, double jumps, double and triple jumps, so you can just both clear a gap really easily sometimes.
I don't necessarily think that's a glitch. I just think it's a different technique, but one that maybe isn't it's not
really
prepared for in the level design. It's like the levels weren't necessarily designed to prevent you from doing that, so sometimes you can just bypass some puzzles by doing it.
Okay, so it's a bit like that level in Portal where you can finish it in like 5 seconds if you know how.
I don't know how.
Oh, is that?
Yeah, I guess so.
Do you know the one I'm talking about, Zach? It's like a YouTube video of it, but
maybe.
Yeah, and that if you go on the commentary mode, they like talk about how there's a ninja solution to this, and
I remember that. Where it's like there's that one. Yeah, it's the one where you have to activate a lift to take you up to the door, but elsewhere in this puzzle there's also a convenient giant drop, so you can just use the drop to give you vertical momentum and jump up to where the lift would take you without having to do the rest of the puzzle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I've seen a video of someone even doing it even more ninja, whereby somehow they come out of the lift and the jump they have to make is like right in front of you. The lift to the exit is right in front of you when you come out of the entrance to the test chamber.
Yeah.
And he managed to like somehow fall through the floor about on the walk towards it. He managed to fall through the floor through portals 3 or 4 times to build up just enough to get up.
Oh
to
yeah,
the top.
where you do like it's like you jump and then fall into a portal and then keep wafting yourself through portals to give slightly more momentum.
Yeah, so he managed
ridiculously difficult to pull off.
Yeah, so he complete the level in 8 seconds or something. Yeah, so Explosion Man. So you can kind of, if you explode together when you're running together, you get like a double height jump.
Yeah, because normally your double and triple jump is pretty weak and it usually just keeps you at the same level. However, if you both explode at the same time, you get you get more of a jump out of it, so you actually gain height.
Okay.
You can cover larger distances.
Is it at all frustrating if you know what you want to do? Does it take a long time to actually pull it off?
Sometimes, yeah, especially in the co-op stuff. Once I haven't really had too much of a problem in the solo because once you work it out yourself, it's just kind of, oh, okay, I need to do that, and then you can do it. The controls are responsive enough, and it's not random.
That's good.
Most of the time,
in co-op, it's just time
frustrating in co-op. It was more like just hilarious when we'd keep screwing up. It's like,
oh no,
cool. What you're doing?
it is good. It's not a frustrating game. It can be for newcomers. I'll give it that. I've seen Naomi play it a couple of times. Sorry to name drop you in that, haha. But
yeah, you did last week.
Oh, did I? Okay. And she's not exactly a
when we were talking about
hardcore gamer. Oh yeah. She's not exactly a hardcorer like we are, but she found it a bit irritating, sort of learning the concepts of timing and things like that, because things do move quite quickly in Explosion Man, and
right.
And you know, it does require a little bit of coordination, such as when knowing when to push the stick and things we've learnt over the years from platforming and like second nature.
Yeah,
now.
I mean it is a platformer. Ultimately,
yeah.
It's just a really original platformer.
Yeah, it's an amazingly simplified yet somehow incredibly awesome.
Okay, I like the concept. I might look into it definitely.
It is very good. Okay. I wholeheartedly recommend.
If I had an Xbox, I'd buy
seal
it.
of approval. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
That's how much of you can't get much more adoration than that. Than Zach actually saying he'll buy something.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for the game this generation that will make Zach buy an Xbox, because the last one was actually Burnout 3, managed to get him to buy an Xbox.
Yeah, and although he did spend a lot of his time on Halo 2 with me.
Oh, he did, but I mean, he didn't. If it wasn't for Burnout 3,
he probably wouldn't. Yeah,
right. He wouldn't have done.
I mean, Halo 3 wasn't enough to convince him, so.
Yeah.
But Halo 3 was just like. After Halo 2, I think it was the end of Halo 2 that was kind of the slight off-put towards Halo 3. I mean, obviously, once actually played Halo 3 a lot, it was like, yeah, this is actually all.
Yeah, but Halo 2 was all about the multiplayer, let's be honest. It was entirely about the multiplayer.
But, well, I don't know, because that was more like it was entirely about the multiplayer in retrospect. Because you thought it was going to be...
Yeah.
Oh, you're lagging out, man.
Halo continuing story, but...
You might have to repeat that. You lagged out quite horribly.
Going terrible. Yes, I was just saying that like Halo 2 was only about the multiplayer in retrospect. Really, it was like you thought it was going to be awesome, continuing storyline, but then the multiplayer turned out to be super awesome.
True, because I never thought much of Halo 1's multiplayer. I mean, obviously Xbox Live didn't exist when it came out, but I never thought too much of its design. I just thought the health system didn't really work.
No, it was kind of
how wrong I was. When Halo 2 came about.
Well, I think we kind of knew that they were working on multiplayer because it was kind of tacked on to the original game, I think, and they kind of improved it for the PC version, didn't they? And then
they added some new levels, and they actually brought some of Halo 2 levels into Halo 1, I think.
I mean, at the time it was quite exciting because it was the first time you could network consoles. I remember seeing a setup of like 4,
No, it was groundbreaking. To be honest.
Yeah.
And I said, and some of my best multiplayer days were on Xbox LAN, which you don't see anymore. This brings us on to a whole other topic, doesn't it? LAN centers and LAN gaming. It's kind of dead, isn't it? Fuck you, internet. I miss LAN gaming, having everyone in the room that you sort of have end up with getting you don't really know them, but you know of them and their traits, and it's enough to sort of make you have a good time. Like
maybe that's just because none of us have got into a sort of a clan scene, like even because we're on like. We play in the same Team Fortress server over and over, so we know people there, but we don't really
talk
them or anything. It's just like we play on the same server. We don't know them outside the game.
Yeah, we don't go on.
Not that we necessarily knew anyone on a LAN outside of playing games with them, but they were in the same room, so that kind of imparts slightly more.
I don't know. There's just a certain
contact.
There's just a certain awesomeness of everyone being in the same place that just seems to have died a death. It's like the death of arcades, isn't it? It's like the second stage of the death of social gaming in a way.
I know, because like LAN parties seem to do quite well. They seem to get bigger and bigger. I mean, I've never been to one, but I hear reports.
Well, I never really liked the idea of these big ass commercial things because that's kind of a different thing, isn't it?
That's true. Yeah.
These are one-off events that you can't really do regularly, and I kind of see it as the Halo night when Halo 2 was about became a sort of regular thing for me, where we'd get a load of guys over with Xboxes virtually every week and do it because it was get the Dominoes in, and awesome. Other pizza brands are available. And
I was wondering about that. I was like, "Oh, Rob's slipping in some pizza advertisement there. He's getting paid in pizza."
It's getting to the stage where they shouldn't it? Yeah.
You're a hella consumer.
I am. In that I consume hella much.
Yeah.
So anyway,
with that random noise, let's move on to what Dan's been playing.
No, hang on. We're talking about LAN gaming. I just wanted to say that, I think a lot of the problem with the LAN gaming thing in these LAN centres, like the one we used to go to in Ipswich, but I think a lot of people want to set them up because they sound like a fun business to run, but I think they're kind of a fundamentally flawed business model, and they keep popping up and then they keep disappearing. I don't know if you've seen them.
The problem is the upgrade cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
PCs need to be upgraded a lot.
Yeah,
and the hardcore players tend to have their own amazing rig now, rather than needing the rigs of a LAN centre in which to play. I mean, it almost would work better if LAN centres essentially just had empty spaces you could hook your shit to. So they have like decent monitors already set up and things like that, and decent keyboards and mice, and you could just bring a rig and set it up, have it,
but
make it like so there's a car park
nightmare
and
in sort of in the management of it, because it's like all kinds of God knows viruses and firewall issues, and it would just it's like setting up an actual LAN, even if you know the people you're doing it with, is pretty damn hard, supposedly.
That's like halfway between a LAN centre and a LAN party, isn't it? That you're talking.
Yeah.
Sure.
In a way.
Well, I think you don't have to I think there are ways of doing it, because you don't have to rig up complete network solutions, do you? You just sort of allow it with, sort of allow certain communications. It's not like you have to talk to a central server or whatever to. Well, maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting confused. Well, I'm sure there are ways you can do it.
Whatever system the game's being hosted on, everyone will need to talk to.
Hey, maybe in the future.
I suppose that would be supplied by the LAN centre, would be the idea. The server machine would be owned by the LAN centre, and then everyone else would connect to that network.
I'm thinking, I've just had, if this OnLive thing works, I can imagine in the future you could outsource the, because if all the processing is on a server, is in a data center or whatever, like OnLive, how that works, then they could run like a whole chain of these gaming centers, on every high street, and all they'd need is the monitors and the keyboard and stuff, and then to upgrade for the new games, they'd be changing it in their data centers or whatever. So you could use that as a business model for that kind of, shopfront gaming. You see what I mean? In a similar way to how they're planning to do it in homes.
I do sort of see.
If that works, that'd be really
The trouble with OnLive is, at the moment, with our current internet statuses, it's not actually going to be any use for the sort of games that you play online, like Team Fortress or whatever. It's not actually going to be fast enough.
No. It's true. That's quite far into the future, I guess, but still, interesting concept.
I would sort of slightly, like to sort of almost evangelize doing console LANs in a way, because they're much more consistent. You don't have to upgrade nearly as much, and there is still something much cooler about playing in the same room, even with Halo 2. Or you could keep Halo 2 alive by by rigging up Xbox LANs.
That is true, yeah.
Or even Xbox 360 LANs, because it worked. And you know what I mean? So you could avoid the upgrade cycle, and you could get it to work. But again,
well,
there's a sort of reluctance.
Not that niche, I guess. It's like it's big
anymore.
enough that they're still keeping Xbox Live up, original Xbox Live up for this long, pretty much just for Halo 2. It's not that niche, I suppose.
Well, it's not nothing is niche on the internet, is it? I mean, when you get to like being, on the high street, then it becomes
no, nothing is niche on the internet. If it exists, there will be porn of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Rule 34 or whatever it is.
Yes.
But yeah,
and with that friend about porn, let's talk to that.
Yeah, or
that's the pimp daddy.
I just wanted to say that if that LAN centre, if what was it called that we used to go to?
LGI.
LGI, yeah.
Whatever
that was still
for. LAN Gaming Ipswich, presumably.
Yeah, LAN Games Info, because it was the website.
Yeah, I mean,
worst name ever.
Yeah, pretty bad.
I just think that we used to play Counter-Strike and we used to play Battlefield 1942, but I think that TF2 in that room would be amazing.
Oh yeah, just imagine the amount of swearing.
Yeah, it'd be so
It'd be
good.
And how much that guy would be getting raped.
Gotcha.
The ass.
Yeah. Right from behind. Yeah, by spies as well. Spies would come up behind Gotcha.
That would just be terrible.
To clarify, there was a guy we used to play
so
whose battle cry was fairly regularly a very loud shout, which you could hear across multiple rooms. I just got raped from behind. So yeah, spies in TF2, he'd be sore.
That would be such a good, time. It's such a shame it's no longer there, but maybe, never mind.
I don't mean, but it doesn't really work out in the sense that we'd be paying more for something you can very nearly replicate now, but it's
exactly.
But it's still not quite the same,
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Maybe I'm just a little over nostalgic these days.
Maybe.
Speaking of nostalgia, they released Game Room on Live Arcade this week.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
Colossal crapper that is. Sorry, it really winds me up. And the concept is pretty good. I don't mind it, but they still expect you to lay down a couple of pounds for an Intellivision or Atari 2600 game.
Right.
And
that's not going to
still costs you 400 points, which is about £3, for a Play Anywhere version, which you can use on the Xbox or on your PC. I'm sorry, I'm not going to pay. I mean, I know it's only a few pounds, but I'm still not going to pay that for an Atari 2600 game.
They make a lot more
70s.
money. They should learn from the App Store, the iPhone App Store, that they'd make a lot more money if they charge 50p each for them.
Well, you also don't get any freebies to sort of draw you in. You get the ability to demo a game once, and then you're locked out from it. And you get this idea of tokens. I still haven't quite figured out how you use it, but you can use it. You can spend your tokens playing on playing games you don't own, which is novel. But I'm not quite sure how it sort of how you get your tokens back, for instance, and things like that. Supposedly, if you go play in your friends' arcades and play their games, you can sort of trade the tokens about and things like that. It's sort of like almost like an arcade economy.
Right.
But it's I haven't quite figured it out. It's just they've completely missed the market, the money mark. It's
right.
And none of the games are that good. I mean, they are really. We are talking 70s games. The sort of one that stood out to me perhaps was Super Cobra and Tempest being the highlights.
Yeah, it's got Tempest,
Them, I sort of recognised a lot of them, but they're just too small and too old to be worth any kind of money.
Yeah. Presumably they'll add to it, but still, seems odd to me. I mean, I did like one thing. It's got like a sort of rewind thing, so if you mess up in one of those old, really unforgiving games, you can just
really?
like kind of apparently you can. It doesn't matter what game it is. It's obviously built into the emulation. Whereby
you can flashback.
You can rewind what's happened at any point, which is kind of cool. Because considering how hard some of those games used to be, it might be more fun in some way. But still,
rewind?
Really, really, really not worth the money. But we'll see what happens with that.
I mean, it teases you in because you look on the downloads page and it goes Game Room for free, and you think that's fine, and then you get Game Pack 1 and Game Pack 2 for free, and you're like, This is awesome so far.
Okay.
You download it all and you put it on. Then you get into the game, and all the game packs do is give your version of Game Room the knowledge that they exist. Essentially, they're still locked, and you have to pay to unlock them.
Oh, that's lame.
On the plus side, the execution is pretty slick. It's just the cost.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like much more sensible than like PlayStation Home with the little arcade cabinet.
Everything looks more sensible than PlayStation Home.
That's true.
But you could double dance. That was the best way. You could tell one half of your body to do one dance and the rest to do something else. That was amazing.
Can you not dance your avatars in a Game Room?
No, I didn't notice actually any control of the avatars other than seeing that who's about.
Okay.
Yeah. Although that's probably the best bit, actually, is when you go to the menu on Game Room, your avatar appears on the screen in a funky retro fashion. So some of them will have them dropping in, like, in pixel by pixel from the ceiling, or others will have them sort of doing the robot onto the screen, which is
so you get some dancing.
Yeah.
Very retro.
Oh, the robot.
You don't get the same level of dancing awesomeness like you do in 1 vs. 100, though.
Oh, right, yeah.
Mash the button to dance now.
Where you can do the Running Man.
Oh, yeah,
You can't help but do that. Do a little sort of like dancing sound effect. Yeah.
Is that your David Brent dance sound?
Pretty much, isn't it?
Oh dear. So, yes, I've been playing some games this week.
What?
Yeah, we better talk about that because we've only got like half an hour more of recording. No, probably more than that with the extra that we set in. But approximately until 2 hours.
Just over half hour.
So I know I got Bayonetta last week, but I bought because it was cheap. Assassin's Creed 2 finally, which I've been waiting to play for a long time, like since before Christmas.
Did you play the first though?
No, I didn't really play the first. I played it. I think I rented it and I played it. I didn't like it.
Oh, was that because you thought Altair was a knob?
Yeah, Altair's a massive knob. Okay,
he is a massive knob, not in the complimentary way.
Yeah, no, he well, that would be has a massive knob.
How would you know?
Is a massive knob.
I suppose.
But, yeah, how would you know? Tell by his armour or something. I don't know. But
my mind, what a large codpiece you have.
Indeed. But yeah, because at the start of the first game, the first thing you do, and you can't help doing it, is do something completely against the code or something, or you just do something stupid, and it's like, no, I didn't mean to do that. You like have control of your character up to the point where he does something ridiculously stupid, and then
what you mean?
You
fine
get
line between looking awesome and tarding out.
Yeah, I don't
Kind of
know.
like Mirror's Edge.
And then you go back to your base, and your boss guy's like, you're a shit, you fucked up and stuff, and it's like, it's not your fault, it's just your character's fault that you have to play. And then it shows you all your skills you have, and it shows you you losing all your skills. And the idea is you have to go through the game and get them back. But I'm like, sod you, I didn't do anything wrong. And also,
that's kind of a gaming mainstay, isn't it? To sort of tease you with it and then rip them all away, because that's the Metroid thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true, but it never teaches you
in Metroid,
to use
it's not your
them.
fault. It's not your character's fault, really. It's like in Metroid, Samus gets blown up or something, and then all of her power-ups fall off. Rather in this one, where it's just like your character totally not in your control, fucked up really badly, and you wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, exactly. And you never get a chance to use those skills before they're taken away, so you don't know what you're missing. You just get to see that you're losing stuff. It's like, because in some games they do that, that The Force Unleashed was apparently quite cool. I didn't really play it that much, but you start off as Darth Vader and you just have all this awesome force powers and you just blow the crap out of everyone and chucking Wookiees everywhere. And then you start as the apprentice and you have to build it up.
Chucking Wookiees sounds so funny.
Yeah, well, you literally do start on Kashyyyk.
That's why it sounds so funny. It's a hilarious sound effect.
Because it actually sounds funny.
Yeah. So, oh man, I saw this YouTube video of a hinged door on a cabinet that sounded like a Wookiee. Seriously,
that's just kind of retarded shit that YouTube is so useful for.
It's better than Jesus in Toast, though, isn't it? Wookiees cabinets.
See, if only back in whatever year it was, ages ago, there'd been the mobile phone technology for me to take a recording when we were driving down the motorway and we overtook a truck that sounded exactly like a TIE fighter. Then I put that on YouTube.
Well, apparently a
I
TIE
like the
fighter
fact you call them
sound.
Moat Airways.
What?
He's like Moat Airway.
Motor.
It's like a Moat Airway, like it's.
Motorway.
Oh,
like
okay.
we have air.
Okay.
We get the terrible pun now. Moving
Okay.
on.
No, but apparently the TIE fighter sound effect was created by combining an elephant roar with screeching wet tires. So maybe the
What
truck.
what kind of elephant did they use for that?
It was apparently an elephant. I don't know. I might look that up again. I don't know.
Did they
'Cause the-
like? I think I'm just trying to imagine how you make an elephant make that noise. Do you just have to get a really big shoe and stand on it or something? And it goes,
Well, they make that trumpeting sound, and presumably they took that and like pitched it down or something to make it
I
long
suppose.
and low.
It's not literally just an elephant sound effect.
that would make
Yeah.
more sense.
There's a post process on it.
Or an elephant totally monged out of its head, just lying on the ground going, oh my head. Oh.
So Altair being a dick, yeah. So it really annoyed me, but
Came
also
back to that.
it was really pretty, but the combat system kind of irritated me in the original, and also like it took a long time to get to the point where you could do it. All advertised that it was all open world, and you could like run around these sort of cities and stuff. And that looked really
yeah,
cool.
and then you
in
don't
the
actually
demos
get to city until you're about an hour in.
No, exactly. So I was getting more and more pissed off with it. It kept loading, and I hated the whole because the meta storyline was kind of. I mean, it was interesting, but it was. I mean, in order to, it was famously hard to get into the game
I was
because,
surprised that was revealed straight away, to be honest, because I thought
Yeah.
that was like the major twist, and I sort
Yeah.
of knew about it before I got into it. But then to be presented with it straight off, I was just like, oh, okay.
yeah,
So
they
what
have
is
that
the
straight
twist?
up. Yeah, it's really weird. So they have that straight up. So you're imprisoned and you have to go into this Animus thing, and that meant that in order to load, as far as I can remember, in order to get into the game, you had to load. You were at the title screen, and then you went in and it loaded, and then you got up from your bed, and then you walked into the Animus. Then you selected the memory, and then you loaded again, and eventually you were Altair in the past or whatever. So in order to get into the game from a standing start, it took forever, and you had to like
It
literally
does take a
walk
while,
your character.
actually. Yeah, it does take
Yeah.
an awful long while. And there is quite a lot of story leading into it, which
Well,
isn't
that kind of-
unusual, but
Yeah,
it just
I
seems
mean-
a little bit unskippable. You know what I mean? Because you actually
Yeah.
have to do things.
yeah,
Apart from
It's like-
the loading pause element of it, that is kind of a classic story setup where it's just like
yeah,
you're
it's a
going
bit
to
yeah.
too long though.
yeah. The thing is, it's the exact same setup in Assassin's Creed 2, but they let you skip all that because they trust you enough to know what's going on. So when you put the disc in the drive, you can go straight into your past memory character without having to sit in an Animus and stuff, because they trust that from the beginning of the game that the setup. They trust you, the
so you
player.
don't miss
'Cause you've
any
already seen it in
story,
the first game, I guess.
essentially.
Yeah, you've seen it in the first game, but you also see it at the start of the second game. It sets you up with a.
So they explain enough about the actual story setup, but not talking about stuff that was repeated in the first game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you get a little flashback to what happened in the first game, the kind of meta story, the overarching story, and then you get the game starts again with you in the real world, but it's quite a sort of exciting sort of escape sequence thing. And
okay.
yeah, so it sets you up there, and then you go into the new story of the new assassin Ezio, who's in this time instead
Less
of
of a
being.
dick.
Yes, he's a really cool guy. He's probably quite cool. Like, he's this kind of he's almost a bit like of a sort of Romeo character in a way, if you think, because that's in Verona, isn't it, in Italy? But you start off in Florence in Renaissance Italy, and he's kind of a bit of a, he has punch-ups with his families, like rival families and stuff, a bit like Romeo and Juliet, and he goes and shags the sexy lady and stuff, and does all the sort of naughty things that he's not supposed to do. So he's a bit of a dashing rogue. But then, yeah, exactly. But then his father gets this corrupt official manages to implicate your father and have him publicly hanged and stuff, and that's what starts off the sort of story of Ezio, and he becomes an assassin, and he starts to learn that because it's the assassins versus the Templars. That's the idea, isn't it? So the first game, Altair is an assassin, and he's working against the Templars and trying to find these sort of, MacGuffin things. And presumably, you're after another MacGuffin this time in a different time period.
MacGuffin.
But anyway, the actual game, I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, not only are the graphics really good, but the subject that it's depicting is beautiful inherently. Sort of Renaissance, the Florence. Florence is a really beautiful city, and I've always wanted to go. But this is it at its absolute height, or whatever. And not the whole game isn't in. I thought it might all be in Florence, but there's other cities, and I've just left Florence in the story and gone somewhere else. So there's various environments, but Florence is absolutely beautiful. And from the off, you are running over the rooftops with your free running thing, and they've obviously really refined it to the point where it's really fun.
I'm sorry, Dan, but I might have to interrupt you here because a small situation might be evolving at my house.
Okay.
Is the house on fire?
Well, not exactly. I've just been
on fire.
warned via the power of silence that that Kippers may be returning with a posse. Is this a false alarm? Oh, I'm being told this might be a false alarm, which might have been a problem, because he's a noisy bastard and his friends are just.
Yeah.
Well, at the risk of offending a lot of people, I will stop that sentence there.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. So anyway,
we might be interrupted shortly.
Okay, fair enough. I'll carry on now. Yeah, and so straight away from the off, you can run over all the rooftops, and you can pretty much fight as well from the off. But it doesn't really teach you how to fight properly until later in the game. So it's quite interesting because I was getting quite frustrated at first because I was like, well, how am I supposed to do this fighting? And there's not much chance of you dying initially. But I was getting frustrated because I was getting hit and I didn't really know why. Like, literally the first thing you do is you're thrown into a fight and it doesn't tell you what the controls are. And you're just sort of bashing the punch button or whatever. But it gradually reveals to you, you get more weapons and you can then upgrade the weapons as well. Like, your tech guy, like Q in James Bond, right? He's Leonardo da Vinci. Which is pretty cool. You actually go and see him in his workshop, and he'll upgrade the weapons and stuff. So
and the classic marketing
running
shot
over
was
the rooftops.
Ornithopters, bitches.
Always.
Yeah, Ornithopter. Well, I haven't got to the stage where he's provided. I think later in the game there's like a hang glider thing that'll but
oh yeah,
that's what I meant.
Sorry.
No, you're right. Ornithopter, he was into that as well.
Oh yeah, I like the way you described that. This Leonardo guy, he was well into his ornithopters.
He was. He loved those ornithopters. What is it? An ornithopter is like a machine that flies in the same way as a bird does by flapping wings.
Winged motion rather than
Yeah.
winged movement rather than propulsion combined with a static wing.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm starting to enjoy the combat now because it's all based on like counters and stuff, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, no, it does get more satisfying. You had the same problem in Assassin's Creed 1 actually, because it starts out with you just mashing the attack button now, plus with the limited ability to dodge, and then eventually you get countering, and it's like, yep, this is all piss easy now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, it's pretty easy now that I'm getting used to it, the countering thing, it's getting pretty easy, but I imagine it'll get harder when you get enemies that are resistant to countering and stuff.
And it gets to a point as well where they do to a certain extent have the old hack and slash problem of standing around waiting for your moment, but they will,
I've seen that
occasionally they will attack while you're in the middle of a combo, and it's like, oh crap, better block up.
Yeah, exactly. So that's cool. And it's really pretty, and the story's going really well. It's like they've got this kind of weird sort of pidgin sort of English with a bit of Italian thrown in occasionally, like saying things like silenzio and stuff occasionally to add a bit of an Italian flavour, which could be really stupid, but it actually works really well. And there's some great in-jokes, like when you meet your uncle, you're like, who are you? And he's like, don't you remember me? It's me, Mario! It's a really funny moment.
Hello!
It's literally
Does he have that high-pitched voice, or is it a little bit more subtle?
Well, he says it fairly normally, but I mean, he says it in a kind of Mario way.
It's
So
a me.
it's an obvious joke, but it works really well. It's quite a good sense of humour, this game, definitely.
Hello,
And,
Ezio. It's a me.
Not quite like that. But,
You must
yeah.
kill the bitches.
That's
Mario
the next
demands it.
Mario the Assassin.
Silenzio. Woohoo.
And some of the assassination animations are really you've got these hidden blades in your arm or whatever, just like in the previous game, but it's got various and one of them I saw was particularly gruesome, where he sort of shoves the hidden blades into the person's face. It's really horrible. Yeah.
Guess
So,
what
All
time
up
it
your
is?
face.
what time is it?
Food time.
Food
Ooh,
time
what
for
is it
you?
this week?
Interrupted
More mushrooms.
again. I am not aware of the mushroom content of this food yet. I will probably report back in several minutes.
Okay.
This could be the running theme that we were discussing last week. It's like
What is Zach eating today?
Zach's culinary experiments.
Okay, I
Arc
shall
his
be
experiments.
meeting and listening in as
Okay.
before.
Eat
Okay.
fast.
So, and I've just gone into a dungeon bit, which is the first one I've seen, because it's all open world so far, because it's just
I'm gonna have to
the
stop you
city.
there. I'm afraid I'm gonna have to stop because I'm actually mildly distracted by the fact that food was mentioned and there's half a Subway sandwich sort of just staring at me. It's,
Do you want to nom
It's
on the
a-
sandwich?
no, I don't want to know on the sandwich. I was just turn into a monologue, and it might not be that interesting. But I'll stop waving the Subway in front of my face. Oh no.
Too tempted, I'm afraid. Too tempted.
Of course, in podcast land, that might sound a bit weird. Like there is actually someone here waving a sandwich in my face. It's not just happening.
It's not some poltergeist waving tasty sandwich meat at you.
Poltergeist of Subway. I tell you what, there are worse things to be haunted by.
That's true. That's true. You'd rather be haunted by a pizza geist, though. Wouldn't you?
I'd rather be haunted fresh. It's
Sorry,
Subway, yeah, but eat fresh.
eat bread. Haunted
I'm-
fresh.
Be haunted fresh.
Only the freshly dead may haunt.
Only the freshly dead. So you don't get the super stinky rotters.
No,
That's the,
fresh every day. New ghosts.
That must be a bit weird because it's like, you alright? Who are you? I'm Steve. How did you die? Heart attack. And then the next day it's the flattened by a container guy, and I don't know why flattened by a container was my next option there.
I'm gonna just let you keep talking because this is quite an interesting concept. I love the way you started that as well. It's like it must be weird, when this happens, it happens all the
As if
time.
it actually happened.
Yeah,
Of course it does.
being freshly haunted.
Freshly haunted. I suppose, does that mean on the flip side that you get people that are only haunted by the really, really dead? Like the
What,
not warm anymore dead people.
What, they've been dead for 2,000 years or something?
Yeah, something like that. Although that might cause a bit of a language problem.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
Alright, mate, what's happening?
They can only communicate by waving Subway in your face.
Oh, yeah. Well, they might see the sandwich and think it's food and then start. Or maybe the Subway sub would be more like a club to them, so they'd start hitting me. I'd be haunted with someone hitting me over the head with a sandwich. But
So literally, you have a 2,000-year-old Roman centurion who's been hitting you over the head with a club sandwich all day. That's the scenario. we're
or a
talking about,
a club sandwich like a club.
Ah.
Boom, boom.
Good.
I wonder if.
So anyway, you got any questions about this game?
Well,
You interested in playing it?
I sort of do and I sort of don't because I did start playing Assassin's Creed 1,
Right.
Um,
Okay.
and there was a distinct lack of sandwich hauntings.
There was. Yeah, I hadn't seen any sandwich hauntings.
So
Even
I'm
Ezio
a little
the
bit
cat.
off put by the second one. And to be fair, I sort of got to a point where I'm not. It's one of those games where I sort of understand it was good, but the PC port was glitchy enough to sort of irritate me too much, and
Right.
It doesn't really draw me back in.
I think
BioShock
it's more
sort of
a console
happened,
game.
and yeah,
It's
maybe it does work better.
I mean, I don't know about the PC port of Assassin's Creed 2, but I know it has that terrible DRM problem, and you should never ever buy it. You know,
Yeah,
you know about that, right?
do explain.
Oh, they've got this horrible new DRM on Assassin's Creed 2 and various other Ubisoft games, and you need to be connected to the internet in order to play the game, right? That, for a start, the single-player game. And then, to make it worse, if you lose connection, it'll chuck you out of the game, okay?
Oh, yeah, no, CNC4 has that problem as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But CNC4 doesn't. It chucks you out, but at least it saves.
Right, well, initially they did patch it, but initially in Assassin's Creed 2, it wouldn't save you. You lost lots of progress. But then,
I've got to be honest, I don't have so much of a problem with internet authentication, as in it probably is the way to do. You know, it's the only sort of decent way to do proper anti-piracy techniques.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not quite so intrusive as a rootkit like what was it, Sekirom and all that shit.
Yeah, that was pretty horrid. I mean, Ubisoft used that in the past. That's on Splinter Cell Chaos Theory has Sekirom.
Yeah, and EA were quite big protagonists of Sekirom until recently.
But the problem again with Assassin's Creed 2 has been recently that you had to be connected to their servers in order to be playing the game at all. And of course, people who were pissed off at this, pirates, or whoever it was, someone in the nether regions of the internet, of course launched a denial of service attack immediately on the Ubisoft servers.
So what shape are the nether regions of the internet?
Oh, I dread to think what they look like. We don't want to go there.
Is it like an anime penis monster?
Probably just 4chan. But anyway,
the nether region.
They took down the Ubisoft servers, so you literally could not play the game for like a week. Seriously. So they've come back and they've said, "Oh, we're giving you a free game, like as compensation for this," but still, it's pretty ridiculous. But so it hasn't really worked.
I suppose it's the only way we move on is by people trying crazy shit like this. And
that's true. That's true.
Hopefully, eventually, a good solution will come out of it, or they'll just use Steam.
Yeah, Steam works fine. So I mean, the Valve, philosophy towards piracy is just really interesting. It's just to make it easier and and more fun to do it by paying for it. And like they were saying that like people who are willing to spend all this money on having a fast computer, they're clearly willing to spend money. It's just they want the best service, and sometimes the pirates are providing a better service than the actual
the music industry
publishers. Yeah,
listen up, people.
Yeah, well, Spotify's doing quite well. I haven't got an account on that, but
I still haven't actually used it. I don't actually know much about it, but
do you have an account on it? Do you sign up?
No.
You didn't, no. Well,
I don't know what it is really.
Oh, all right. Well, for a long time it was a free sign up for it doesn't work in America yet, but it does work in Britain. And it's a streaming music service that has everything, and it streams really fast. And the only thing is you get occasional like radio style adverts very occasionally if you're using the free service. So between tracks.
Okay, yeah.
So you get the full track of whatever you want to listen to.
So what is what's the benefit of that over something like Last.fm, which, as far as I'm aware, doesn't have adverts?
I don't know. Does Last.fm doesn't have everything you want though, does it? Because it only has a selection.
No, it has to be uploaded by the artists themselves. And,
right, is that the thing?
Yeah, you sort of mark it as I like this, and then it gets added to your customized radio playlist. Is the idea?
Right.
And then you sort of say you can listen to individual tracks, but you can't set up your own like playlists and things, or you can let it choose songs out of what you've chosen that you like.
Right, but you can't like say I want to listen to this next, can you? Or you can.
You can, but you have to listen to it immediately. It's not like a full-on media player. There are limitations, but presumably they exist on Spotify too.
Food completed.
Hooray!
And this time I actually I can tell you what this food was without having to just describe what was in it.
It was sort of mushroomy.
This one was pork medallions on rice.
Sounds quite nice.
Sounds like an innuendo.
It was not very interesting. It was just like, here's some chunks of meat, here's some rice.
Exactly. Yeah, we're just talking about...
I'm going to be very derisive of all my own foodstuffs on this podcast, aren't I? Oh dear. My dad is like, if Dad ever hears this, his culinary skills will be in question.
Oh no, what a disaster. Like he's going to be listening to this on the way to work.
No. I think we're safe.
I think we're safe. Yeah, I was just talking about Spotify, and I think you can make playlists on Spotify, and what's more, you can share the playlist, almost like you used to be able to make mixtapes for your friends, you know?
More importantly, we need to ask if Zach has ever been haunted by a sandwich.
Yeah, that was a fun bit of conversation I sat down to listen to as I started eating. It's like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Especially you don't have the knowledge of how we got onto that.
I don't even know.
I missed it just before that.
We're talking about Assassin's Creed. Well, I was. It somehow got onto waving. Oh, I know. Someone was waving.
It was a combination of me knowing I have a Subway across the room, Zach then going for food, which made me think of food, which made me think of my Subway, and then having it wafted in my face.
Generally, not very sensible.
We're recapping our own 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not very sensible.
It's excellent radio. Here's what happened 10 minutes ago on the...
Well, I suppose they do that on the radio, though, don't they? They sort of just go, if you missed it, here's what happened. Joke.
Yeah, but you can't miss what we've just done, because you'll be having a file, which will be
but people might have just skipped ahead to
the... I'm sure.
But
they will somehow know that this last section is much more entertaining than all that other crap. Obviously.
Well, they're obviously massive fans of Zach, and they just, as soon as they heard him leave...
as soon as I'm not here talking, it's like,
they just skip ahead.
To be honest, he's the one with the biggest probable standing fan base out of us all, thanks to his IRC exploits.
Yeah, go me.
Yes,
I'm gonna get this podcast some listens. Man, that is so awkward. I wanted to say views.
Sorry, that was like the worst one-liner. I'm gonna get this podcast some listens.
I wanted to say views, but it's not views because you're listening to it. So it's listens, but that just makes it sound really bad.
Listens.
So, anyway.
Yeah.
Are we done? We probably need to be thinking about being done.
Yeah, how are we doing on the time?
I'm always done.
I can't see the time from my thing this time.
It is 1 hour, 56 minutes, and 20-something seconds.
Yeah, we're getting there then.
So we've only got like 15 minutes more if we want to use that. But in theory, we should sort of probably try and aim for 2 hours.
Well, I think we're doing okay. Perhaps we should shut it down. What do you think? We've all talked about our games, haven't we? That we've been playing.
Yes. Yeah. And then
this is the trouble. At the start, we say we're going to do the first section where we talk about games, and then that just turns out to be the whole thing.
That's all. That's all we have.
Other sections.
We don't have. We don't need any other sections.
It's like we call it a section, but then it's not actually a section. It's just like that's the whole thing.
No, that's the only question that is needed to drive our entire podcast, really, because we can go into any random tangent.
We talked about this last week, though. But we'll get to a point where
we'll run out of things to say.
Well, to be honest, we'll run out of the games that we haven't talked about yet because we'll have mentioned most of them recently, causing an increased requirement in random meandering conversations and less of a need for us to go. So anyway, back to what we were talking. It might become a bit more organic, and here we are critiquing our own podcast. So
well, it is only the second installment.
Yet more excellent radio.
Well, yeah, but this means the non-existent comment section is not required. Because we've made all the comments ourselves.
Obviously. Our hilariously bad puns are totally awesome.
That last one wasn't even...
Exactly.
That last one wasn't even a pun, was it? What was it?
What, Motorway?
Yeah, Motorway. It was just the way he said it.
Yeah,
just
I was just interested in the fact that it was like...
Because the way I saw it as a pun was because he was talking about, like, the TIE Fighter, and the TIE Fighter would have been flying, and I was thinking it like an airplane. Motorway. Apart from, obviously, a TIE Fighter would be in space, so there wouldn't have been any air, so it still didn't make sense.
Do you remember that van we saw driving at Fort Park once?
That is so unspecific.
I shouldn't have stopped talking there.
Yeah, can you imagine people be so
I remember this one van we overtook on the road several years ago.
It was like van shaped and everything. And it was
Come on, spit it out. What was it about the van that was interesting?
It was more of a sort of small lorry, shall we say, but it was a removal lorry that had on the back of it written "Hump It Removals." We'll hump everything.
Oh, yeah.
Or something.
What? I do remember that.
Hump it
as far as taglines go, we'll hump anything is pretty bad.
Oh, I see. Hump as in like
lift,
on your back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
To hump it. My humps, my humps, my humps.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, that song's terrible.
Enough of
I
that.
don't know. I don't know what. I don't know what. I'm getting really annoyed with the Black Eyed Peas. They keep changing. And, like, I can't decide. Every other song I like and every other song I hate. Like, My Humps is obviously one of the worst things ever to be written. Pretty much.
Yeah, but weirdly, I sort of like it because it's funny.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
I don't
It's so over the top and butt-filled that you just can't help but somehow enjoy
Rob
it.
likes the butts.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's no Sir Mix-a-Lot, is it? You know. It's
It's
you know.
trying, isn't it? It's
Yeah, it's
still fairly
trying.
assy.
Yeah, it's not quite. Baby Got Back is pretty much the ultimate in the assy pop.
In ass-related songs.
Assy pop.
It is. Yeah, but I quite like that Boom Boom Pow song. I think that's
Yeah,
quite
no,
good.
that's awesome.
That's
Oh,
good.
I've
But-
I
Hella
I've got a
annoying.
feeling.
No, it's good. I like it.
It's awesome.
but
and I do like I've Got a Feeling as well, even if it is
Oh.
just one big intro.
I'm really getting annoyed by that because I've heard it so many times, like every club, and so it's like I don't like My Humps. I like Boom Boom Pow, but I really don't like.
Is
I
that a
Got
confidence thing?
feeling.
You don't like
Come
your humps?
aside. Sorry, I don't like humps. I don't like things. Anyway, not in the
Ugh.
removal sense. Anyway.
Okay.
Okay.
It's like,
So,
okay. Let's
I think
end
we're
this now.
gonna-
We've talked about music. That was our second segment.
Yeah, music. But the complaining about the Black Eyed Peas segment is now.
Be talking about butt segment.
We have to have that every time. That's a regular feature. Butt
Well,
news
yeah,
of the week.
Well, that is one of our themes, isn't it, of conversation, where we always end... Well, you always claim that it's me that brings the conversation down to bum level.
I think it was this time, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're not doing yourself much favours.
Wait, was it me?
Well, I talked about My
I
Humps.
thought we somehow got onto... Oh, yeah.
And then you.
Oh, no, that was me.
immediately
Yeah, hump it removals. And then you started talking about Black Eyed Peas and humping.
Yeah.
Oh, just humps. And,
Yeah.
of course,
So
that's your
technically it
fault,
was your
damn it.
fault.
No, yeah. What?
You started with the hump removals, which
And
brought
then
Dan
you
on to thinking about the music.
No. He started singing My Humps, which made me think
Oh,
of
yeah.
Black Eyed Peas. Yeah, so, yeah. Anyway, responsibility. Anyway, so I'm going to wrap up this second edition of the Salacast right now. Join us next time for
Let's hope it
more
sounds better than
gaming.
the previous one.
Yeah, so let's hope the sound quality is improved. And join us next time for more random
I just
conversation.
realised I can't give a thumbs up in audio.
Were you just trying to thumbs up us? Were you just sitting there like, yes?
Basically, hopefully the next one this one will be recorded a little bit, and I'm sitting there smiling with my thumb up, and it's like,
Genius. Okay.
So, thumbs up from everyone here, and catch you next time.
Yee. Cut.